This conference will now be recorded.
So hello everyone, welcome to day 5 in our GCP Cloud Architect training. So last week we had stopped at the slide where we understood what is service account. We tried to do some couple of demos which made us understand how service account is used. And towards the end, we stopped at a slide where there's a very unique feature with service account, which is basically it can act as an identity, meaning it can act as an email address. So if it's an email address, you can give basically what? If I can get my highlighter. If it's an identity, you have an email address, you just give a role, and based on that role, it's able to do some specific activity. Normal way. Only thing is that this identity does not belong to a human, it belongs to a API or a machine. So that's a straightforward one. The second one, which is very unique with service account, is it can also act as a resource, meaning you can make groups, people, individuals to act as the service account. If you give a role called as service account user role, we have already seen that in a couple of demos. I'm going to reiterate it today. So if you give this role, right, then the specific service account can be acted as a resource. So if it's a resource, who is the identity? We are the identity. So you use a person to impersonate as a service account. So in that case, the service account is going to act as a resource basically. So these are two very unique features. So we have already seen how we give a service account a specific role, how it can leverage it. We have seen that. Today we'll see the impersonation part, very important from the real implementation perspective. So, but I have not seen any questions related to impersonation. But uh, when you see the real world implementation, most of them are going to be on this impersonation itself. So, getting this concept is very, very important. So, I'm going to go a little slow. Only when I get a confirmation that you are clear, I'm going to go with the next options. Okay. So, let's see how we can impersonate a service account. So there are three ways actually. I would say fourth way has been recently added, so I have not added that slide, but it's a recent one, um, which we will explore if possibility is there. Very recent one in Kubernetes. So we have not even started Kubernetes. So for now, I can keep it as three. So the first way to impersonate is when you want to deploy a job on Google Cloud, any Google Cloud services. It could be something like a compute engine, app engine, anything of that sort. So what you do basically is you basically run as the identity of the service account, and the user, which is you, me, must be granted act as permission. So this permission is available in one of the roles, which is service account user role. So just wanted to get a confirmation, folks, whether this statement is very clear for you people. So is there any confusion? So I want to run a job, meaning I'm in a virtual machine. From this virtual machine, I want to dump something into my Google Cloud storage. Now, if I were to do that, I have to basically run as the identity of the service account. What is the identity of the service account? Email address, which is going to end with @gserviceaccount.com. So I should run as that identity, and the user who's running this must be granted this role. Only then he can act as or impersonate as that service account. So this is what was very clearly mentioned in the previous slide. So if I just go to the previous slide, this bottom part. So if you were to impersonate, or if the service account has to act as a resource, basically you have to give this permission, and this permission exists in one of the roles, which is service account user. Okay, so is this clear, folks? If it's not clear, please let me know, and we are going to do a demonstration also. But the sentence itself needs to be very clear. So if you were to impersonate as a service account, you should get this role. Only then you can impersonate. So now what we'll do is, thanks for the clarification, and If you don't mention it, I'm going to take it for my advantage. It's clear. So fine. Now what we'll do is we'll do a demonstration, and we'll use the same user, Mahesh at the rate learn GCP, that stuff. Sure, let me repeat it. So you have a job. You have a job which you need to execute, and assume this job is in a virtual machine. The job is you do some processing, do whatever you want. There's a specific task. Once you get a data, that data has to be copied into a Google Cloud storage bucket. Now you're doing everything in a virtual machine, and it has to dump the data into a Google Cloud storage stuff. So to do this right, basically you will use service account. Sorry, you'll use basically a virtual machine to do all the stuffs, and you want to dump it into a Google Cloud storage. Now, if you were to see, is this job running or not? Is this job properly running? Is there any issues or not? So in that case, you have to log into this virtual machine. So if you have set this up, everything is working fine. No need to log into the virtual machine. Everything is going to work properly. But if something has broken, you need to troubleshoot it. Then you need to log into this virtual machine. Now, if you are trying to log into this virtual machine, you are trying to log into a system which is a different identity. So you have to now impersonate yourself as the service account. Why? Because the identity of the virtual machine is nothing but your service account. So you have to impersonate yourself. Then only you will be able to log into this virtual machine. Then you can go and fix it. So first of all, so you have to run as the identity. So you are always going to run it as the identity of the service account, and the user, which is you, me, anybody who wants to log in, must be granted this act as permission. So this act as permission is available in one role called as service account user role. So this is what we are seeing it in our bottom screen. So there's a user, that user is given this role, then he is going to act as. So now the service account is acting as a resource. So is that clear, Mangesh? Now when I do the demonstration, it's going to become much clearer. Now what we'll do is we will start every time with a clean slate so that we don't have any confusion. So what we are going to do is switch our screen. And folks, by chance, if I go on mute for 1 or 2 minutes, the only reason is maybe I'm sneezing, I'm coughing. That's it. So don't worry. So there's no network connection. So please bear with me for only 2 days. So have some cough and this thing. Okay. So what we'll do now is we'll go to a service account. So there are three options. So I'm going to call this option as option one, and we are going to create a service account specifically for this. Okay. So that's what we are going to do basically. Okay. Before creating a service account, let's ignore service account itself altogether and see what's going to happen. Okay. So something like option zero. So only when we understand option zero, option one will become clear. So what I'm going to do is under user, I'm in batch 6. I'm going to add, if I just put a filter user, I only see 2 people. Now what I'll do is I'll try to add, I'm doing add IAM policy. So policy binding. So GCP with Mahesh, done. Now last last week we tried with compute admin roles, so which was the fullest role which you can get with a for a virtual machine. So let's give slightly lower than that so that we understand the principle of least privilege. So go to our compute engine, and instead of compute admin, this is the superset. So the highest role which you can get for at a virtual machine is, or specifically for a virtual machine, is compute admin. Similarly, the highest role which you can get or at a project level is owner. So similarly, at a folder level, you have something called as folder admin. Similarly, at an org level, you have called as organization admin, but there is no super user. Please remember, there's no super user which you can give to somebody. Yes, this is a role. Take this. You are a super user for the entire GCP project or the entire GCP account. That's nothing like that. You have to, there are different levels at which you have to give. Now, I wanted to give him a compute admin for any virtual machine created in batch 6. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I don't want to give him full access. So I'm going to give slightly low level access called as compute instance admin. So where he's going to only do for the virtual machines, not for the network, all those things. If you are an admin, compute admin, you get access to networking also. I don't want him to touch the networking. So I'm going to use compute instance admin. Full control to compute instance disk, all those things. Read access to only the networking resource. If you are an admin, full access. So let me give compute instance admin role. That's it. Save it. Now, if I put a filter one more time just to see whether it's coming up, it is showing up. Now, there's no service account here, folks. There's no service account. It's just a normal IAM policy binding, which I have done basically. Now, swap my screen to the Edge browser where I have logged in as this user. I'm just going to refresh it. Once I refresh it, I'll just go and check whether this user can create a virtual machine. So let's just check it out. And this is the most important part. So I'm going to go a little slow to make it very clear. Batch 6 is showing up. So let me just go inside that batch 6. Okay, I'm in batch 6. Just to click on the profile, it is Mahesh, that same user. Now what I will do is, I'm the compute instance admin. I should be able to create virtual machine. So let me just go create it. Let's create a virtual machine. And here is the trick. Now this user is just a compute instance admin. When you see the screen, you will see a warning message, which we have already seen in our last week's class. It's going to be a continuation, but I'll show you how I can fix it. So option 0, no impersonation. No impersonation. I'll just make it as Singapore and make it in specifically with the lowest machine type, because we may create multiple VMs. Now scroll down. You will get this warning message that you don't have permission to view the service accounts in batch 6, but it shows me the service account. This is a bug which I already showed you. Now to prove that it's really a bug, let me just launch it in a Cloud Shell. So all these things, only when you understand, you will be able to appreciate the impersonation part. So I hope till here it is clear. We are just trying to create a virtual machine. We are not even got into the service account impersonation part. Uh, let's just wait for the Cloud Shell. Now to see the list of service accounts, usually what we do is we run a command, and the command is going to be something like this: gcloud IAM service accounts list. If I do this right, it's going to show you don't have any access to read any service account is what it shows. You see this? This user does not have permission to access batch 6 service account. Now, if I just copy this command just to show that whether this command is correct or not, I'll swap my screen to the owner screen, which is learn GCP. So let me launch my Cloud Shell. Here, if I run it, it's going to show me the service accounts which we have. So let me just show you that. Just to show you that the command is correct. We have two service accounts, basically. It should show those two service accounts. Okay, the project is not set. Sometimes you will have this issue. Config set project learn hyphen pc GCP hyphen pc a hyphen batch 6. Sometimes you will not have the project set. Okay, sorry, there was a typo. Hyphen batch 6. I really like that warning. So there was a typo. It detected that it does no project exists like that. Okay. Okay. Now if I do this, it's going to show me the list of service accounts. Two service account. One is the default one, the other one which we created for our learning purpose. Confirmed. Now it's now very clear in our Edge browser, even though it is showing that default service account, it shows you don't have permission. So this is a bug. Maybe Google can fix it. If you want, you can file a bug request. Um, if they fix it, it's good. Otherwise, it's okay. From the terminal, it's not able to show. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is if I just leave it like this, if I just leave it like this and create it, we are going to get an error. So saying that, let me show you that stuff. So because I cannot even read the service account details with this user, I'll not be able to create a virtual machine. It's going to throw me an error that this user does not have act as permission. Let's just see. Expected error. The user does not have service account, this access to the service account, only to that specific account. User Mahesh as the owner to grant IAM.service account user role, which is going to have that act as permission. So till here is it clear, folks? Now, since you don't have impersonation, you cannot even read that service account details. Uh, Let me know whether this is clear. Okay. Now, I want to delete this. Now, it's not mandatory that you always need to impersonate. So why do you need impersonation? Because you want to act as that service account. Only if you have service account, you may connect to those multiple resources, all those things. But if I want to have a virtual machine, which is isolated virtual machine, I don't need a service account itself. Let me just show you what happens if I don't have anything. Just that compute admin role only. So I'm just going to call this one more time the same thing. Singapore F1 micro. What I will do is I'll say, okay, I don't want a service account itself. Make it no. When I do this, I should not have any problem. So what's the command line equivalent of this? If I don't want any service account, so let me just zoom this for a better view. So no service account, no scope. This is an isolated virtual machine. So basically it's going to just run uh, and in an isolation mode. It's not going to connect to any GCP resources. So let me create it. This time it's going to work because there's no need of any impersonation. So Mahesh is going to create this. He has the right access to create it. Now he should be able to SSH into it also. But from this virtual machine, he cannot connect to any resources, basically. You see, the virtual machine is created. Let me see whether I can SSH into this. We'll talk about what is IAP at a later point of time. Done. I have the virtual machine, folks. I can do sudo apt update. It's a virtual machine which I have got. I can do whatever I want here. I can access Google, but what I cannot do is I cannot run gsutil ls. It's going to throw me an error. You don't have any in this project. We don't have any buckets which can be anonymously accessed. So that is what it shows. It's like in an isolation mode. That's it. So this is option 0. Now, what I will do is I want to access from this virtual machine. From this virtual machine, I want to access other resources. So two services, when they come into picture, it has to be basically service account. Now, if I just do gcloud auth list, it's going to show there's no credentials because this virtual machine does not have any service account. So is this part clear, folks? No impersonation. You don't need to have that role itself. You as an individual does not need to act as. That permission is not required. So if this is clear, what I will do is I will go to the actual option. So let me just remove these stuffs. Machine type. Okay, so this is the machine option 0. Now let me swap. We will try this part. Now I want this user to act as. So what I will do is the user must be granted this role. That is what the error message also showed us when we did.
Mahesh,
The
one small
user,
question.
yeah.
Mahesh, is it can you show me try to create a bucket from screen once, please?
Trying to create a bucket. Okay, we will do it from the service account itself. When we create a virtual machine, I'll do it and gsutil mv. I'll do that.
Okay.
Once we have this impersonation, we will do that itself. Maybe that itself as a task. So now what we'll do is basically switch. This has to be fulfilled. We have to fulfill this. The user does not have the service account. So either I can give something like this. What I'll do is I'll go back. If I give this user here, add this role. That role is that. What is that role? Basically, service account. Why don't I search for it, folks? 1 minute. If I search for what was that mentioned in the slide? IAM.serviceaccounts.act as. Folks, still you have a question? Mansur, if you can, there's a background noise, so if you can stop and do it, it's going to be good. You can unmute, you can then talk. Service account, IAM.serviceaccount.act as. Will this account have access at a OS level? No. So this account, if you are able to log in, you already has a sudo access. So what it's basically like you can do whatever you want. So directly you're not going to get it. So once you are able to SSH, you will have full access. But if you want to restrict all those things, then an integration with an Active Directory or something is required. So basically, I would say if you are able to SSH, in simple terms, I would say yes. He is like the admin of that virtual machine. At the OS level, you want to do any changes, all those things possible. You can install certain stuffs. All those things are possible, basically. But this has no direct connect actually. What Google gives is the moment you have these necessary roles, you should be able to log in. And people whoever logs in get usually a sudo access. If you want, you can block those things possible so that you can restrict certain stuffs. Basically, you should be able to do whatever you want in that virtual machine. So IAM.serviceAccount.act as permission is available in these many roles. The one which we know is only this role. So that's the reason we always give this role. Owner, editor is going to have this inbuilt, and we don't want to give that because it's slightly a broader access. So always try to give this role. So if I go here, so click on this user. Now give this user that role. Service account, user, run options, run operations as a service account. Done. So this user has the capability to impersonate not only as this service account, any service account in this project, because you have given him at an IAM level. You can also give at a individual service account level. That is also possible. So how do you do it at an individual service account level? Select this, click on show info panel, give that access. So both are possible. So let me just do that after doing this part. So I'm doing it an individual, like all service accounts. So I can have virtual machine provisioned with this service account also and this service account also, because Mahesh has the access to the entire project, all the service account, multiple service account. Okay, so swap the screen. Now let me refresh it in my Edge browser. By the time this comes up, let me just give this user compute admin role also, so that I can show uh, how one can create a bucket from command line, which was one of the questions. So if I just go to storage, not required for this demonstration, but you asked this, so I'm just going to just create that storage. Just a role to create storage. With compute instance, I can create virtual machines from the virtual machine itself. That's also possible. So, oh, the screen is still loading. Now, if I launch my Cloud Shell and run the same command, it should be able to list all my service accounts. Basically, it should be able to list all my service accounts, because I have been given that role. So now let me just launch my Cloud Shell just to show whether I can have that stuff. And parallelly, I'll try to click on create instance. Now the warning message should also have gone, and I should be able to create it with any of those two service accounts. So option, I'll call it as option one, service account user service account user role. So this is the one which we are talking. Let me just minimize this. I'll just list it also. I'll show you that. Singapore. And we have a better way of doing this templates. We'll look into that at a later point of time. So I don't want to do that now itself. Now, if you see, there's no warning message, folks. Same user, no warning message. And I can also see the other service account, because I have this role which was previously not working. Now, if I run this, it's going to do that. It's going to show me two service account exist. Now you get the understanding, clear picture Now I can list it, and also I can act as. So why I'm able to list it, if you want to just see that, just go to this roles. So if you search for service account, act, okay, service account, user, this role has around 5 permissions if I'm not wrong. One of the permission is to act as, and it is also having this permission to list all the service accounts, and because of which only I'm able to list it. Hope this is making sense, folks. Now I can impersonate as any of these 2 service account, or if in future if some new service account is also added, I can impersonate it. That is possible. Now if I just click on this command line, I should get the equivalent is, zoom this for a better view. So it's going to be service account, the default one. The scope is the default scope. Some read access to storage bucket and write access to some logging stuffs. So that's what it shows. Now let's create it. It's going to work. That was the same error which we got. You don't have act as, get it. Now we have got it. We should have our virtual machine created. No problem. And we should be able to SSH also. Now let me SSH and create a virtual machine. SSH and try to create a bucket, and also answer Mansoor's question like, uh, is this user the admin or at a OS level? Because you have already given this user compute admin, instance admin, definitely you can do it. So you can log in, you can do everything, means definitely you can do some changes to this system also. So maybe add a disk, remove a disk, all those things you can do it. So now if I just run this command, gcloud auth list, it shows it's my default compute engine default service account. I can do gsutil ls. I should be able to list it because I'm the compute admin. And to answer Kumar's question, how do I create a bucket from command line? Something like this. I'm going to use this name, option 1. This is how I, okay, was there a name difference? Bucket. Okay, the role is not propagated. Maybe 1 minute. All good. Everything is correct. Let me do sudo. The same issue which we had. Compute admin we have. Is there anything wrong here? Okay, I'm not sure whether it can end with a number. Let me just use this one, folks. Permission denied. Okay, we have a solution. Just go to that LSA, delete this. Now try running this. What's the issue? Should be good. Uh, let me just see what is the role. Oh, okay.
Give the
I understood.
we did not give
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
storage, right? Storage
Sorry.
admin. We gave only compute permissions, but we did not
Okay.
give the storage,
Okay.
right?
You're correct to some extent. So if I just do gcloud auth list, the mistake which I did was, what I am doing, I'm trying to do it as this user, right? Now, if I just go to my, oh, I'm an editor role. Okay, this is access scope, folks. This is access scope issue. So the last week's demo which we are doing. So if I just go to this, I forgot to give the full access there. So
Yeah,
read write
yeah.
access. Yeah, so I made that mistake. So if I just go here, I did not focus much there. So here, storage is read only. That's the reason I'm not able to get it. So maybe in the next demo, I'll show you. Okay, so this is the command to do it, Kumar. But why it did not work here is because we are using default service account. When you use default service account, it's going to use always access scope. And if you use access scope, you should make sure you turn this on. So that was a mistake which I did. Sorry, let me just stop this, maybe stop it and do this. We should have that. And I guess I made a mistake here also. The role does not read. Mahesh does not require storage admin role. He does not need anything actually. Just a compute is good enough. Storage, because you are going to create it from the virtual machine. If you are going to create, Mahesh does not need compute admin. The service account should have the compute admin role. Remember it. So let me just do this one more time, folks. Storage admin. Now, if I directly go to the console and do it, then I need storage admin role. But if I'm doing it via the virtual machine, anyway, the service account is having editor role. I can use that role itself and do it. Is that clear, folks? We'll just fix it. But this user does not need to have storage admin role. So he should be able to just create everything via the service account itself. So I have stopped it, edit this virtual machine. Edit this virtual machine and set storage. I'll give full access. We'll start it, then we should be definitely able to create the virtual, from the virtual machine, we should be able to do it. So it's just the context from where you are trying to do. If you're directly doing it in the console, you should get admin access, storage admin access. If you're doing it via virtual machine, what is the identity of the virtual machine? That identity should have storage admin access, basically. So start this. And this is going to be a longer demo, I would say. But once you get this clear, it becomes so easy. Whenever somebody gives service account user role, why they are giving it, you will have that very clear clarity there. So full access we are given, so definitely we should be able to connect to that and create a virtual machine, create a bucket. This time I should be able to do it, and if it's not, that cache, we can know how to fix it. So let me first show what's the user. It is the same service account. Now, if I use the history option 1, okay, it is just that cache issue. Remove this cache. So those credentials which is there is not there. Now give a try, should work. Done. Work. So this is how you do Kumar creation from a command line. And if I look into my activity page, who created this bucket for audit purpose, it's going to show this service account only created. Even though Mahesh logged into this virtual machine, whatever I do in the logs, it's going to show the service account. So let me just show you that. So this is usually called as impersonation, right? So the blame, if it's a good thing, it's okay. If it's something went wrong, the blame goes to the service account. So now, if you want to know who did this, basically you have to go to your project and see which and all user has this access, service user, service account user role. That's how you can come to know, but it's going to be little difficult. If there are multiple people, it's going to be little difficult there. So bucket. So if you see in my laptop, the time is 9:12. Uh, Bucket was created. Who created it? This user created it. So is this clear, folks? The impersonation, the first level, act as if you do it, what you can do. And now because the uh, now if I delete it also, it's going to show the same thing. So I'm just acting as, and the person who is going to impersonate, for him, if you just give that role, that's good enough. So that's good enough. He should be able to impersonate. Uh, Impersonate. Let me just refresh it. The screen is not refreshed. Is the first option clear, folks? Act as. So now you go to activity page. You go to activity page. You see bucket is created. Now, if you want to see this service account created, it's very clear. Service account will not log in and into a GCP console and do it. Somebody has impersonated. To know who has some impersonated in your project, the only way is you have to go to your IAM, put a filter, find out who has this role, service account user role. So that's the only option which you can do. So you can put roles, go to roles and put a filter to find out who has that specifically that role. So service account. So possibly one of these person. If it's one, it's okay, easily pinpoint them. Otherwise, one of them in this group. It could be a group of so one of them in this group or in this list has created the virtual machine is what you will get, but you cannot pinpoint and say uh, if it's a group, folks. So is this part clear, folks? First of all, so it's a security issue. No, you have granted them, right? You yourself granted them act as. Now, before granting somebody this act as impersonation, you do the due diligence. You do the due diligence that you should give them the access to act as. So we gave it. Now, if something goes wrong, we take the responsibility. So don't give everybody act as permission or service account user role. Only when there's a need required, give it. Otherwise, don't give it. Now I can block everybody, so I don't need to do it. So yes, it cannot capture it. Yes, the stack driver logging is not does not going to capture it. So that's made it very clear. So if you act as, nothing can be done basically. So this is the first option, folks. Now to answer Mansoor question, I'm logged into this virtual machine, so I can just do whatever I want. I can add a disk, remove disk, all those things, increase all those things by just doing a sudo. Now I became a root user. If I'm a root user, I can do whatever I want in right. It's like an administrator in your Windows. So possible to do. So you're basically going to be a root user. So let me just close this part. Sorry. Close this. Go back to my IAM. And I just wanted to show you all the good things, the bad things, so that you decide which one is going to be a good option. Okay. So that's the first option, folks. I understand it's clear. If it's not clear, let me know. Without this, we'll not proceed further. So uh, it's going to be little too many times asking whether it is clear or not, but just wanted to get that stuff very clear from your side so that things are very good. This option is it clear, folks? Yes, no, only one, two, three. Okay. Good. Thank you. So this is the first option. You know the pros and cons of it. Anil Kumar already mentioned it. It's not going to be capturing. So yes, because you gave it as act as, you'll not get a clear picture, a clear clarity who is doing it. So audit logs becomes little difficult. And if an employee goes rogue, he can do things slightly wrong. There's one question. Let me answer it. So sorry, the same question. Will that not be a security issue also? It is. Is this advisable? In what scenario we will be using it? So thing is that here, what you did was basically you need to log in to this. So this kind of stuff, when you will use this, you want to act as basically. So when you provision these resources, this Mahesh user does not need to have this. So if I just go put a filter, this user, right? I have given him service account user role. Now you could have put a limit. Now this assume this user is a contract user, folks. There's some issue with the virtual machine, a software based issue or something. So you need to give this user, only then he can log in and fix it. So in this case, you just give him and give him for a short time. So something like, you can put a condition. You check with him, how long do you take to fix this? And if this contractor says 2 hours or maybe a day, put a condition expiring access. So you need a daytime. I'm just going to put a daytime. So 7th. By 7 o'clock, by 7th of February, he should finish it. So I have put that condition, save it. Now, temporary access, you want to grant some temporary access because he needs to fix, because he's an expert in this stuff. He will fix it, but you need to give him access. In this scenario, you're going to give act as. Now you gave it, now you know, and it is very clear from that person's side also, if something goes wrong, the blame goes to this person, Mahesh. So this way, in this case scenarios, you will usually do it. So if things are all working fine, revoke his access. And even if you forget it, this condition, IAM condition, is going to revoke his access. The entry is going to look in the screen, but the access would have been removed. Okay, so hope that makes sense. Mohammed, Mansoor, Mohammed, Ali, is that clear, Mohammed? To troubleshoot, basically to troubleshoot is where you need to have this basically. Okay, now if you give everybody service account user, not for troubleshooting, everybody to create virtual machines, you have to give it, then you will not be able to track it very easily. Okay, so that's the first option. Now let's go to the second option, which may look little scary also, but I want you to be aware of all the options. The next option is called as authentication using your private key and do it. This is the most scariest option, I would say, the dangerous option, I would say. What is this basically is, first of all, I'm going to revoke my self access. So Mahesh will not have access to this batch 5 project itself. But I'm a bad guy, assume, and somehow I got access to one of the private keys. What I can do is what I wanted to show. So service account can have, you can generate a key. So now if the key goes in the hands of a wrong person, what and all he can do. So using this key is what I wanted to show. And this is, in some organizations I have seen, this is a approved way. The reason is they don't want to give any individual access to GCP console. So they will create a service account, they will generate the key, and they will share it securely to that employee, and that user or that employee will use this command gcloud auth activate service account, the key, and he will become as that service account itself. Now whatever he does it, it's going to be under the service account name. Now how do I track it? Now you should know with whom you have given this key, then only you can track it. But if this person shares the key with somebody else, it's going to be a little tricky there. Okay, so let's try to do this part. So for this, to keep things very straightforward, what I will do is, if I go to my service account, we'll create a new service account. We'll create a new service account. We'll call it as option 2. Option 2 SVC SA. Option 2 service account. So I'm just going to mention it as option 2. That's it. So this is where I'm going to create an identity. We have seen it. This is the only identity which you can create in GCP. We have seen this in last week's class itself. Create it. Now an email ID is created. Now all the options which we are exploring is very well documented. You can look into the screen. Grant this service account access to batch 6 so that this permission, so it has the permission to complete specific action. So if I just click on this, there's nothing which is not there in the documentation. Everything is going to be there. So this document, is this the one? This is granting. Okay, this is granting. If I just oh, this is granting. Sorry, this is not the one. Let me just show you. So let's grant a service account, something like compute admin or compute instance admin and storage admin. So 2 roles we will grant it. So recently used compute instance admin, another role. I can just use recently used one, storage admin. 2 roles has been granted. Continue. Okay, that's okay. This is showing that timestamp stuff. No worries. Continue. Now, the first option created an account. Second, granted a couple of roles. And the last one is grant user to the service account. So this is where you are talking about impersonation. So if I just click on this, it's going to show you those impersonation options which we are talking. The first way, managing use service account impersonation. What are the ways? The first option we already explored it. Just give service account user role, you'll be able to do impersonation. The second one is not there here. They removed it. Actually, it was there. They removed it. This is our third option. And there's a fourth option which was recently added only for Kubernetes. So we'll not discuss this at this point of time. So these are the options. So for your reference, you can keep it if you want. These are good materials. Now here, if I grant some user an access, what's going to happen basically is that user is going to get only to this virtual machine service account user role. Let me just show you that. Not to the entire one, only to this one. So service account user, or maybe I'll just use a different email ID so that we'll not get confused. Demo.gcp 2018 @gmail.com. Okay. Then I'll also add, so grant users the permission to deploy jobs, VMs with this service account. So one more user, I'll just use demo.gcp 2021. So this is the admin, service account admin, service account user role. Basically, this is at an individual service account we are giving it. Click done. Now when I click on done, 3 service accounts are shown. This is the one which we just created. Just click on this, show info panel, and turn off this thing. So don't show inherited permissions. Show only what you have added at this service account level. So only to this service account. Now if I see, there are 2 roles, service account admin, who can manage those service accounts, all those things. The one which we gave was, when you give a specific person to act as to a specific service account, this is how you do it. The first one which we did was at a project level. Now Mahesh still now can act as all 3 service accounts because you have given him at a project level. Now here, demo.gcp 2018 user will have access only to this service account only, no other service account. Is this clear, folks? Where you use this option, basically. Where you use this option, basically. At what level you give, it's going to be applied at that level. Now, what I will do is I'll continue using not demo user, but I'm continuing to use Mahesh only. This user is going to go rogue, is what we are going to see. So what I'll do is I'll revoke his access. It's okay. I'm just going to remove it. User removed, nothing is there. So it's in front of you. I have removed this user. So I can just go put a filter. Nothing is there. I can also swap my screen, refresh it. It's going to throw me an error. Mahesh, you don't have access to batch 6 is what it's going to show. So let's check it out. It should throw because I don't have a single access. Definitely it should show an error. Now, but even if I don't have any access, how can I create VMs is what I wanted to show basically, or buckets. So let me just show you that. This is the only part which I have to wait for a longer time for the refresh. It should not show it. I'm just going to refresh it one more time. Maybe the propagation is taking time. So hope I have not given anywhere. Yes, I have not given it anywhere. Okay, it's not reflecting. I'm just going to log off and log in back. So let me log in. Should definitely throw me an error. Looks like it is showing. Okay, awesome. I don't have access permission. Now, forgot about the compute engine section. I don't have access to the project also. So that's what it indicates. Now let's just see it in the home screen. It should redirect me to show, folk, you don't have a person, sorry, you don't have access to this project. So is this part clear, folks? Mahesh does not have access to this project. I can just show this user. Uh, Till now it's clear. Okay, thanks for the confirmation. Now what we'll do is, uh, before, I just wanted to show you the pros and cons of everything. So before this, so what we will do is, somehow this user have got access to a key. So we have not generated a key. Let me generate a key now. So I'm just going to generate a key for this option 2. So generate a key, click on create, this 3 verticals, dots, create a key. And the best way or the better option to always create a key is using JSON, JavaScript object notation format. That's recommended, but for backward compatibility you can use P12. I've never used P12. That's only for the older systems. Let's use JSON. Create it. I'm creating a key. Done. So this key will get downloaded to my local system. So let me just open it. This is my service account key. So it has the project ID, it has a private key information, everything for me to log in. If you just share it, if I now send it to you also, right, you should be able to log into my project via command line and do everything basically. So what the service account can do, basically, what is the role you have given, those roles it can do. So if I put a filter here, option 2 is to compute admin, storage admin. So I can do anything with respect to storage and compute. How? Let me just show you. somehow this user, Mahesh user, has got access to this key, and assume he has left the organization. All those things has happened. The worst scenario can happen to a person. So he is not in the project. Now let me open my Cloud Shell. And it does not need to be a Cloud Shell also. If you have Cloud SDK also, you can use it. Let me just show what this user can do. Now it shows my project because it was there in my browser. It is showing me that. So I'm going to unset this also. Gcloud config unset project, so that I'm not set with any project. So it's going to have no project set. Okay, this is the case. Now I don't know how this user got the key. Somehow he has got the key through whatever the medium. Now let's assume what is that medium? You can think of it. Somehow you have got it. Now what I will do is I will upload that into my shell where I don't have even access to the project, but I'll get that key somehow. So it is in my local system. So let me just upload it. I have uploaded that key. If I put ls, I see lots of stuffs. Just give me a minute. I'll just clean this up. So I'll just move this key and call this as key.json just for simplicity reason. It's a bigger name, so I just wanted to rename it. So now I have this key. Let me show what I can do. Before I show what I can do, I wanted to show what is the user currently logged in to this Cloud Shell. Auth list. It's going to show Mahesh. No wonder. Cloud Shell is totally provided free of cost. It's going to show Mahesh. That's it. Done. Now, what I will do is I will use this command which I showed you here. Gcloud auth activate service account. I will activate myself. It's basically like impersonation. So Gcloud auth activate service account. The key is key.json. This was the whole reason I can type the name easily. So that's the reason I renamed it. Easier to remember. Now activated. I have activated myself as the service account. Now, if I do the same command previously, which showed Mahesh, who don't even have access to that batch 6, now I have activated myself as, you see the star, folks? The star indicates what is the current account which has been set. Now you can switch between two different accounts. Now, if you just use gcloud config set account, you can change it to Mahesh, or you can change it to option 2. Your choice. Now I am currently activated myself as this one, meaning I can do whatever the service account can do. What are the roles? Compute instance admin and storage. I can just do this. Let me just do that. gsutil. First, let me show you gcloud command. Gcloud compute instances list. Without project, I cannot pass it because I don't have any project info set in my shell, but I can know the project ID from my service account itself, the key itself. I'll get this. If I have access to this key, I can do this. So it's going to show what is that? Two virtual machines are there, which we created. It's going to take time to get it, but it's going to get it. You see that, folks? A person who does not have access to the project, but just with the key, he got impersonated or activated himself as that service account. He's able to list the VM. It's not only listing it. I can go also create a virtual machine also. Let me just show how I can create a virtual machine. Now, if he just puts this one, Let me just put gsutil ls minus p. This is how you should pass the parameter if it's gsutil. Let's see whether it can show the buckets, listing it. It is listing it. Now, can I do gcloud IAM service account list the project? I have to mention the project. Which is this? Okay, let me enable it. What is there? So what is this project ID? Let me just search. Is this my project ID? Dashboard. Let's just check it. Whether is that the dashboard? Okay, this is our batch six only. So it is saying some API is not enabled. It's okay. Let's enable it and see whether we can enable it first of all or not. Enabling IAM, so you don't have permission. So I cannot list my service account. Why? Because I don't have that enough role given to this service account. This service account has basically what? The service account basically has two roles only, compute and storage admin. So if I put filter, this has only these two roles. With respect to virtual machine, I can give it, do it. With respect to storage, I can give it, but not to a service account. Is this part clear, folks? So if I had also added that service account user role, right, it's going to be the most deadliest combination. I can do everything there. So I can list the service account, do everything. Fortunately, we have not done that. That's fine. Now, till here, is it clear, folks? I can just use a service account key. Somehow I got access to it. If I have access to it, I can do basically what this service account can do. I'm able to list it. I'm able to create also. I can just create a virtual machine also. Cloud. First, let me create a storage bucket. gsutil make bucket gs colon slash slash six using key, using SA key. Okay, I have to do something like this. The minus p parameter should be passed first, is my understanding. It has a this thing specific way you call it somewhere here. I don't recollect it, but let me just give a try. Yes, I created it, folks. I created it. Now, if I do list, I should be able to list this thing. You see, I'm able to create it, folks. Now, if you go and look into the activity log, what's going to be the information, folks? What's going to be the information? Which is going to say who created this bucket? Option 2 created the bucket is what you are going to see. Let me just show you. There's nothing hiding. Let's just see it. Is there any validity for the key? Unfortunately, I'll come to that. I'll show you the validity towards the end. So none of us would be there till that validity. It expires in 10,000 years. So by default, I'm showing you the the cons of it. So now you should prepare yourself how you should design this. So now if I go to my activity, it should show option 2 only created a bucket. You see this at 9:40. So my time currently is 9:42. Option 2, what it did create? It created a bucket with this name. Is this part clear, folks? I can do it because I'm a store, because the service account has storage admin role. Now I can show you how I can create a virtual machine also. So with this, option. So for this, I need a small support for this beta command. Interactive. I don't remember the command. That's the reason. Remember, I cannot use any service account for this virtual machine because I don't have the service account does not have service account user role. So basically, you can create a standalone virtual machine. Compute instances, create hack or option. Oh, okay. Let me just launch it one more time, folks. I'll use the command somehow. That beta is there. Sometimes it messes up the stuffs. So by impersonating, I'm able to create a bucket. Now I'm going to show you I'm able to create a VM also. Since I have that access, in the sense the service account has that role, I should be able to do it. So let me just do project config unset. I don't want to have any background. That's the reason. Project is unset. If it's already set, you don't need to specify that parameter hyphen project. I don't want to do anything. So as if like I'm an outsider, I just have access. How I'm trying to create is what I'm going to show you. Gcloud auth list. It's gone because and this is going to be valid only for the session. How long you have opened your Cloud Shell. If the Cloud Shell closes and you launch it, you will be losing your this thing. But if you have the key and the key is not deleted by the admins, I can still use this key and activate it n number of times. Activate so usually what I have seen is people keep it in their Cloud Shell and keep activating it. Now if I do it, it's going to show option 2 is the stuff. Now what I will do is gcloud compute instances create option. What was the option which we had? Option 1 if I'm not wrong. Option 2 private key. Private SA key, the zone where you want to mention provision it. Then now the most important thing is this user knows he cannot use any service account, so he has to explicitly mention don't use any service account. So how? Using that command which I had shown. So something like no service account, no scope, something like that. So you have to mention that, and also you have to mention your project. The project is batch 6. So if I just use no service account, no scope. Hope this thing is correct. I'm just going to quickly check, folks, whether it is the right thing or not. So if I just go to virtual machines, just wanted to get that syntax. I tried using that beta, it was having some issues, so I thought let me just show you. And this is how you can usually, even if you don't remember the command in your real time, if you're doing something, you can use this to get those gcloud equivalents. Just go to the screen. Most of the time you will have that option, the gcloud equivalent, and you should be able to do it. So let me just quickly see that equivalent. Yeah, so if I just say no service account, just wanted to get the equivalent. So it is no hyphen service account hyphen no scopes. That's what it is indicating, scopes. Okay, this is the step. If I do this, I should be able to create a virtual machine called as option 2 in this project using that service account. Let's see what we can do. We should be able to do it. And we can also log into it. It's not only that creating it, I can also log in. Yes, I have created it. You want to verify it? Just go to this console, the owner screen. I'm in the owner screen because that user Mahesh does not have access to the console. Only to your shell is what he has access. If I refresh it, I should have a new VM. If I look into my activity page, it's going to show who created it. That is, the service account only created is what it's going to show. So if I look into the activity page, VM created recently, and the VM was created by this service account is what it's going to show. VM created by whom? This service account. Expand it, you should be able to see that. So there's one question. So we use service account, then why we use no service account? Okay, the key, the service account key is basically to use that service account. Like it's like you are sharing the password of that account in very simple terms. Now that service account basically has only access to virtual machines and storage bucket only. It does not have access to service account user role. Because it does not have access, you cannot get the list of service accounts, Anil B. So that's the reason we mentioned no scope, no service account. If you try to do it also, it's going to throw us an error saying that you don't have access to this service account. We know that we don't have access to service accounts. We have access only to create a virtual machine without any service accounts, and we can create buckets. Now, it's not only this, I can also log in, folks. I can also log in to this. I can use gcloud compute SSH. Okay, compute. I don't remember the command. Let me just get it. So I can just log in, do everything. So if I can create it, I can also log in. You see this user has only 2 roles. It does not have service account user role to act as. So that was the reason why we just gave no scope. Let me just get that command to SSH from the command line. So I can just click on this 3 dots, view gcloud command. The command is SSH zone. Okay, let me just get this command. Go back to my Edge browser where I can put this command gcloud beta compute SSH. Let me show you whether I can SSH to this virtual machine. And there are scenarios like this, folks. It's not just a hypothetical scenario. I've seen cases like this where there's some cryptocurrency kind of stuff's process executed where the people get access to this kind of service account keys, and without the actual people knowing it. Okay, there's a beta. Okay, let me see whether I can log in. Yes, I have logged in, folks. So you see it, my prompt has changed to Mahesh. So if I just type gcloud os os info, it's going to show me that this thing. Now I have got access everything. Treat me as a hacker now. I can do some all kinds of wrong things. Bit uh, cryptocurrency, bitcoins, whatever you want, you can do it. You have an access, and this does not belong to your account. I can create a more powerful virtual machine. Or if I'm a very smart hacker, I can create small virtual machines where people will not even notice, but use it for some illegal purpose. I can do all those things here, and I can, whenever I don't need it, I can stop it or delete it, because I have that capability. So if I just use this command, if I can create it, I can also stop it. So I'm going to just do stop or delete. so that nobody knows it. I can play that game very easily. So if I just do delete, for deleting, I don't need to mention these things. I can delete this, and I can delete it silently also. Done. This is the other side of it. So if somebody gets access to this key, they can do everything like this basically. And in organizations, what I have seen, the stuff is deleted. Now if I just do list, list my projects, list my compute engine, it's going to show only 2. So this is the other side. If an employee goes rogue and he does this, or if it's an hacker who got access to it. So this is one of the main reasons why Google says don't keep your service account keys in a GitHub repository, which is publicly accessible. You would have heard of stories where hackers scan for GitHub for any private information. It could be a database password, credentials, it could be service accounts like this. So when you have this kind of stuff, keep it in a secure place, not in a repository. This could be also a possible question which you can get, where you should keep the private key, not in a repository. So you have to use something called as a vault, which we'll talk at a later point of time. So you have an option in GCP called as secret manager, which is recently added. So you may not get questions on it, but if you want to be aware of it, use this one. So secret manager, you should keep all your private information. It's KMS is for only your encryption key, only for your encryption keys. Secret manager, I can keep anything. I can keep any sensitive information. It could be a database connection string. It could be a prior password of a Windows virtual machine. It could be a password, or it could be a private service account key uh, of a service account. I can keep everything there. So we saw the other side of it. Now, what I have seen in some organizations, right? Um, they don't give access to the employees to the GCP console. Maybe this person is working in a service-based organization. They have such restrictions, or the customer requirement is like that. So what they do is they only share the key with a person. So it's going to be something like this. If I just go to my now, I go to my. You see this? Why I'm not seeing a key here? Okay, I have to see it here. What people usually do in organization, right? This key, this has to be done manually, folks. There's no system in GCP to do this. So key ID person uh, with which it has been shared. So this is the key ID. You see this? This is the key ID. Now you shared it with what? With which person? You make a note of it in some system as simple as a Excel sheet. Mahesh. Now you can create 10 keys is what I mentioned, right? You may use this as a this thing here. Now I create one more key. Done. So this is the key starting with BB. Now this is going to be shared with Kumar. So Mahesh Kumar. So you are, or maybe I can do it as user 1, user 2. Now something goes wrong. Something goes wrong. It's going to be a little difficult in which key has created it, because in the activity page it's not going to show which key did this. So at least you can come to know with whom these keys are shared. You can investigate them basically. You in the sense the security officer can investigate. So that's going to be the option. And to answer there was a question, what is the validity of this? So if I just go to this service account, uh, you'll be surprised to see the validity. I can 100% assure none of us are going to be there at that time. So the validity of each of this service account is going to be 10,000 year, 1st of January 10,000. So hope such a calendar exists, but this is the validity. Now by some means you came to know the key has been compromised, then simply delete it. Simply delete it. That way you can make sure your that hacker does not have the key forever. So this is one of the main reasons why your server's account key should be regularly rotated. Regularly rotated. So you cannot put an expiry date currently, so that's going to be a feature request. There are some options still going on, but you don't have an option currently to put an expiry date. Is there any reasons why we cannot show the key in the activity? What is stopping it? uh, I'm not sure, Kumar, what is the reason. They have not added it. That feature does not exist. Not sure what is the technical reason behind it. The only thing is that they could have done it. I'm not sure why it is not done, but it's not going to show you the key in the activity page or in the logs. So these are the gray areas which you should be aware. Now, once you know the gray areas, you can tighten the system very well. So I
Maybe,
usually say like, yeah,
maybe
go ahead.
Mahesh, sorry, maybe activity can be accessed by anyone, and if we show the key, then
Hmm.
anyone can have access. That may be that may be the reason.
He already has access, right? What is a big
Okay,
deal whether you have this key starting with 7 9 or you have a key with BB? Does not matter, right? He's going to have storage admin and compute admin access. Uh, Not sure what is the reason. It could be like now. It could be
okay,
an option. It could be for future enhancements for Google. But these
okay,
are the gray areas. The reason for
okay,
showing you this gray area is like only if you are a good hacker you will be a good cloud architect, so you know how to tighten the system everywhere. So and you are also slowly getting your security skills also upgraded. So that's the whole thing, folks. All right, now okay, I did not even see my time. Okay, so we saw the stuffs. Two options. The last option is something called as authorization using cloud IAM policies, where you're going to use a specific role called as service account token creator. I would call this as the true impersonation. The reason is every time you run a command, you have to mention a specifier or a flag called as impersonate service account, and this can be easily tracked. This can be easily tracked. So my favorite option is this one, and this is what you see it in the documentation. Here they mention service account token creator. So where you can create a token and use that, and you don't need to physically create a token. It's going to be OAuth, uh, JSON web token. So using that, you will be able to impersonate it, and everything is going to be logged basically. So that's going to be the better way. So we will see how to do this after taking a break, and then we'll explore this. And this is my favorite option, easily trackable. So take a break and come back, folks. Then we'll do this demonstration. Let me stop the recording.
This conference will now be recorded.
So before the break, we saw two options of impersonating, and we saw the risks involved in that also. Uh, let's look into the last option, which is basically using cloud IAM policies, and you can easily track it who has access. Uh, uh, Instead of creating a manual reference like this key is being shared with this person, you can easily see who has access to what, those details. But when you impersonate, the keypad is this is the thing. When you impersonate, right, tracking becomes difficult. Like the person would have created some, maybe the same ID has been shared with 10 people. Anybody can create it. In the logs, it's always going to show who, it's going to show the server's account only created it. But to some extent, if you want to track it, the last option is going to be a better option, is what I feel. Let me just show you. Let's use the same process where we create a brand new service account and give the specific access and CR. Okay, so let me call this as service option 2 SA. So option 3 SA. Option 3 SA using tokens, service SA token Done. That's the identity which I'm going to click create. If I click create, an identity gets created. Now let's give the same role which we gave so that we can compare it very well. Recently used compute, sorry, not compute, instance admin, then storage admin. That's it. Two roles. Continue. I don't know. Okay, I have to refresh the screen. So that's the reason it is failing. So without refreshing, I'm playing around. So this one we have seen how do you grant it. So I'm just not going to touch this. I'm just going to leave it empty now. Done. So we have created a service account as the regular process. Now this time what we are going to do is first of all, let me see whether this user has access. This user does not have access anyway. Mahesh, that user does not have access, but just wanted to verify it. It's not there. Now let me go and do a small thing. Select this user, sorry, identity, service account. Click on show info panel, and you see these are the stuffs which is done at this service account level. There are two editors, all are owner, two owners, all those things. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to add a user, which is Mahesh, and the role is going to be service account token creator. That is what is even mentioned in the slide. So you need to give this role. So if you just give this role, impersonation is possible using a token. So let me just do that. Add a member, Mahesh. This user. Now what I'll do is go to service account token creator, impersonate service account using JWT, JSON Web Token. So give that role, and if you feel he has to impersonate only for 30 minutes, put a condition. So let's put a condition, revoke in a day. So condition, resource, expiry access. You can give it in minutes also. Oh, sorry, what happened? Cancel. Add condition, resource, sorry, expire access, when you want to expire it. Today itself at maybe something like what's the time now? 10:15. So I'll make it something like by 12 noon, the access should be revoked. So that's it. Revoke access by noon. That's it. Add it. Temporary access. Done. Save it. Treat this user as a contractor who has just came to fix something in this virtual machine. Done. Now I can easily see who has been given access, what, at what time, all those details are going to be captured. Now what I will do is swap my screen to my edge. I'm just going to close this, refresh it. Still now I don't have access to the project because what I have as Mahesh is only the token creator role for a specific service account only. So I don't have access to project. So that's the reason you still see that issue. But I can use that impersonate or that service account which I created and show, get the details. How? Let me just show you by, and all these things can be done via terminal only. So that's where the terminal becomes very powerful. So it's going to be for power users basically. So when you're using learning, it's going to be UI is going to be good, but when you become a power user, so it's going to be a easy option is with your cloud terminal, either Cloud Shell or install it on your laptop, your Cloud SDK, use your laptop. So I can uncheck this so that we do the demo in a consistent way. Project. So gcloud compute. First show who is the user, gcloud auth list. That's the stuff. And let me, okay, afterwards I'll show you that one. So gcloud compute instances list hyphen project learn hyphen pca hyphen batch hyphen 6. If I just run this, right, it's going to throw me an error. Mahesh does not have access to this thing. So to list the VMs in this project is what it's going to show. But if I send a couple of extra parameters, it's going to start working. What are those things? Let me just show you once we get an error. Okay, you don't have permission to list the zones is what it indicates. So same command, but I'll put a flag here, impersonate. Not everybody can impersonate because we have specifically mentioned this person can do that. That's why I'm trying to do it. Impersonate hyphen service account. The name of the service account, I don't remember it. I'm just going to copy it from here. This is your email ID. Put it. Then that's it. You just need to mention this stuff. So impersonate service account. Now when I hit enter, it's going to show me a warning. All these things are going to be logged under the service account only, very clearly mentioning. Everything is going to be logged as a service account. Now it's going to show me the list of VMs. List of VMs. It is showing. Now, who listed it? Who created it? Again, that information will not be captured. It's going to show every information as this service account only created it. Now, if you want to backtrack who could have done is, what you can do is go to your activity page, see who was added recently, do some correlation and get. So if I see the activity page, it's going to show Mahesh was added as a service account token creator. So you will see this. Now, if I just show you set policy, yeah, you see this? This is the owner who gave this user token creator access at what time? Today at 10:16. Now I can track it to some extent like this way. I can do it. Now if I give one more person access, he goes and creates it. Now at least I'll know who and all has access and I can at least inquire them basically. So let me just show you how I can create a virtual machine here. So I'm going to use the same command, folks, which helped us to create a virtual machine. Uh, okay, it's not showing. So let me just use my history, gcloud. Yeah, this, okay, this is not a good one. Let me type it. Okay, let me show you one more style of typing this command. The last command, when you saw it, came to the second line. Some people are comfortable with this. Some people are not so comfortable with this. So I'll show you the second style of doing it. So type gcloud compute instances create, then create what's your VM you want, option 3 service token, uh, then use a slash. It's going to prompt, then you can type hyphen project. What's the project? You can mention that. What's the zone? You can mention it. Then put slash zone Asia southeast A space slash. Then you need to pass this impersonation stuff, right? Pass this one slash, and because this service account again has only compute admin and storage admin role, compute instance admin and storage admin role, does not have any service account user role, so it cannot again impersonate. So I'm going to mention no service account slash no scope, no scopes. This is another style of creating it, folks. So now it's more readable, but the trick is when you start the first specifier, before that you just use this slash and start using this. And the last one, you don't put a slash. That indicates it's the end. So let me hit enter. It's going to get created. And it is very clearly mentioning this command is going to use the service account impersonation. All APIs will be executed as this. Very clearly mentioning it. Done. The virtual machine is created, and if you go to your activity page and refresh it, it's going to show the same thing. Option 3 service account created it. It's what it's going to show basically. Let me just refresh it. But to some extent, it is trackable. That is the only advantage with this option. And there's no token, nothing created and saved somewhere. So it's slightly better, is what I would say. Let me just show the activity page and show you one more part, and then we'll jump into our slides back. We have kept on seeing the activity page every time we do it. So as a completeness of the demo, let me just show you that so that you can see what we have done is the right thing, and it is also logging basically. VM created by whom? By this user, service account user. That's what it's going to show basically. So now the last part about the key, going back to the option 2, let me just delete the keys, assuming something is compromised. If I just delete these keys, regenerate it, so that assume as if like we are doing a key rotation. So every 30 days, every 90 days, something like that. So I have regenerated a new key. Let me generate a new key. Done. But this key is now kept securely, not shared with the hacker. Now what will happen is what I wanted to show. Let me swap this, something I forgot to show. Now if you see that key is still there, so I can use gcloud auth activate. If I use this, it's going to throw me an error. The signature is not matching. So this way, if you regularly rotate your keys, it's going to be a good choice. And as of now, there is no current tool which Google provides you to rotate the keys. You have to use some REST APIs or build some small code to do it. There's a very older tool to do this key rotation, GCP key rotation key rotator. Something in GitHub I had seen, key rotator, SA key rotator. There's a GitHub page, GCP service account, key rotation. There is one GitHub page, folks. I don't recollect it. Open source. Yeah. Open source dot Google. Open source Google projects. Yeah, this one. So if I search for a key rotator, this is where all open source projects are kept. Key rotator. Yeah, key rotator. program to rotate Google Cloud Service account key. And this thing works. This code works, but it's a 4 years old code. So you take a call. You need to do little modification. It's a 4-year-old code. Um, it runs on Python too. So if you want, you need to change those things. There's an option which exists. But if you want something sophisticated, you need to write something yourself. So there's no tool to rotate your service account keys. Let me be very specific, service account keys. There's one more thing which we are going to see in our storage called as customer managed encryption key. There's an option for rotation. That is encryption keys. This is service account keys. Okay, so if somebody asks you in a question or anything, so there's no option, you have to build it yourself basically. So let me just go back, delete my VMs, and then we'll proceed further. Any questions on these three options, folks? Three options, and there's a new option which is recently added, as I told you here. Cloud identity, sorry, workload identity. This is basically for Kubernetes workload. Since we don't know what is Kubernetes at this point of time, so let's not talk about it. Once we start looking into that, we can definitely do it. So it's slightly a new one, very new one. Um, Maybe I'll try to do a small video out of it. But let me know if there's any questions so far on this impersonation. Now you take a call which option suits better for which option kind of use cases. I can share a couple of them, but before that, any questions? Let me know, folks. Any questions on this slide? Slightly out of topic, we'll discuss it later, but anything on this one, so that we'll not dilute it. So let's get this slide clear. It's only one slide which took us almost like 2 hours to understand by doing a demo. So is this clear, folks? All the three options. I can give you some recommendation when to use what in the next few minutes. Any questions so far, folks?
Mankesh, in impersonate, on what situation we can use in real time?
So I told you, right? You want to fix something is going wrong. There's a software. You are an expertise in this software. It has been deployed on a virtual machine, but it is not behaving as expected. Now you are an outside person, not part of this organization. You are being called to do a service, maybe fix this software. So they need to give you access temporarily. So in that time, they will give you impersonation access. So you just do come out of it. So basically to do that part is only you will use it. And there are three different ways of doing this. That is
any
one thing.
security risk?
Any security is, you have to, if you're calling somebody, you make sure you are, that person is, you call a genuine person from an organization, not from an outside thing. So that's one thing you have to do it. So vetting or security check, if you're giving it to an individual, you have to make sure that is done. Now you are giving him impersonation access for 1 hour. It is very clear if something goes wrong in this 1 hour, that person is the reason. So that's one way, one thing why you need this kind of impersonation. The second thing why you need this impersonation is when you want to interact from outside systems. This key, right? This key option can work when you want to interact from outside of GCP. So if it's within GCP, I don't need a key itself. Outside of GCP, maybe there are few deployment infrastructure as code options possible. Terraform, we'll talk about it. Terraform, there are other tools. From outside world, you want to interact with GCP, but not as an individual, but as a service account, you will use this impersonation. So from a Git lab, I want to connect to a virtual machine. You can use this key. From I want to have a Terraform script which needs to provision a project. I'm going to use this service account key. So those are the scenarios where you are going to do impersonation basically. So where uh, it has to be basically a machine to machine kind of an interaction, you do it there. So hope that answers your question, Vijay Kumar.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead, folks.
So impersonate a service account for the token creator. It means it is much more safer, right? Because you are putting some expiry, right? So that's the difference I can say, or something.
No. So three different options are there. So each will have different use cases. Now it is between my GCP itself. Now, if I say, right, say for example, this option, the first option, right, it's simple, straightforward. I just gives an individual service account user role. He can do impersonation and fix it. This is one way. I'm not generating any key. So any of the options, right, this option, the first option, the third option, I can create an expiry easily. I can create an expiry, but with my second option, the key which I generate, I cannot put an expiry in the system. I have to manually do that. So if you think in that way, the second option is little riskier, difficult to track, difficult to expire. You have to write something out of the system. But here with option 1 and option 2, with IAM conditions, you can put expiry. That is a good part, is what I would say. But option 2 also has a role to play if it's a third party system, as I mentioned. So from some other system, maybe say for example AWS, from an AWS virtual machine, you wanted to dump it into Google Cloud Storage bucket. How will you do it? So in that AWS EC2 instance, you will create a Cloud SDK, install Cloud SDK, then run this command, activate it. From there, you are going to upload it. Now it's a third party system, but wants to interact with GCP. In that case, you don't have any other option but to use this key. So it has its role to play, but the whole intent of showing you the demonstration was keep this key secure. If you're generating the key, make sure you rotate it very regularly. So safety wise, if you ask expiry out of the box kind of a stuff, option 3 and option 3 are little easier. Option 2 is little risky to manage. Anil B.
Yeah, sir, once more second. Can you repeat for how it is using cloud IAM policy in the third option? Just one or two line more.
So here you are putting a service account token role, right? This is the role which you're creating. So this is the role. It is using this role. So there's a role and an identity. So if there's a role and an identity, you do the binding. And once you do the binding, what you get is a policy, IAM
Clear, sir.
policy.
Clear, sir.
Yeah,
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. So any other questions, folks? I guess there was one more person who was trying to talk, but there was a clash. There was one more question. Was there any question, folks? All right. So no more questions. Uh, Try to prefer to use option 1 and option 3 as much as possible. But if it's a third party system, you don't have any other option, just to use option 2, but put it as one of the design steps or as an activity in the implementation, saying that key has to be rotated. And you get some third party tools to do that. So I have worked in such organizations where they don't keep the key more than 90 days. So if I just go here, you can do that programmatically, call it, and there are few third party tools also available. So you can get the data a day of creation. You do a small math of what is current today's date and do it. If it's 90 days, it's going to automatically delete it. And the tool which I showed you can also do that. If you say if it's older than 90 days, delete it and create a new one. So you can do all those things. So the key rotation part is something which you have to take care when you're playing around with key. But if you're not generating the key, it's more safer, I would say. So that's on your service account. Now let's look into the best practices. So IAM cannot be, the cloud IAM stuffs cannot be entered without the best practice of using it. So we already know some of the best practices. Can anybody talk about the best practices which we have discussed? Please use your private chat so that everybody will think. So you can turn on your this thing to private, only to me or to the presenter. Start putting your best practices which you learned, folks. It could be anything which we learned in our IAM. Best practices which you learned, and please use your private chat. Good, Anil. That's good. So I'm going to tell later so that I don't bias anybody. So good. Anil B, Smith, Shripal, Kumar has given some good points. Then more, need more. What else? Uh, uh, so to be very frank, all of you, Anil B, all of them, Vivek till last, Vivek who gave the answer, you are talking on one thing, very generic. Let's talk something specific to GCP also, folks. Good, Anil B, that's good. Go ahead, folks. So most of you mentioned about principle of least privilege. Just give what that user is supposed to give. But how do you achieve principle of least privilege? None of you mentioned. So how do I do it? What kind of roles I should give? Give me an example. Use groups. That was a good option. Uh, then principle of least privilege is the most popularly typed one. Minimum access. Roles must be necessary privileges. Absolutely correct. In very simple terms, all of you are saying is use predefined or custom roles. So principle of least privilege always applies to AWS also, Azure also. But when you're talking in GCP terms, you can use those term extra stuff. Yes, absolutely, Anil B. No primitive roles. Prefer avoiding primitive roles. Anil B's question, this thing also, avoid storing keys locally is what I can add as an extra stuff. Then what else? Groups is what you should always do. Talk about something on service account, folks. Talk something about, yeah, don't keep it in GitHub source repository. Keep it in something like a, so this thing. Yes, assign always predefined roles. That's good. Something about keys, folks. About the keys. Service account should not, okay, service account keys should not exceed 10. No, if you exceed 10, Google will not allow you to create it further. So that's not a best practice. It's something like it's a limitation. So use secret. It's not secure manager, it's secret manager, folks. Rotate. Kumar's point is really good. So rotate your keys regularly. Service account, you can create 100 service accounts, but each service account can have 10 keys. Anil Kumar. So that is the thing. Use different service for different services. That's also a good point, Vivek. Maintain the tracker of who. That's a beautiful one, Mohammed. So tracker, have some kind of a tracker, but it has to be outside of option. Try to use option 3. Yes, that's also a good option. Rotate the keys regularly, Smith. That's also good. Anil Kumar, hope your question is clear. So it is 100 service accounts in a project. Each service account can have 10 keys. That is a key thing. Keep the dbs of key distributed. Yeah, definitely you can do that. That's a good one. Prefer to use secret manager. Why don't I show you that secret manager, how it looks like. uh, and if you're giving somebody impersonation, make sure you do some due diligence. Don't give it to a person who has just joined in. We don't know his background. If there's any, so this is where that outside of GCP also comes into picture. So if his background is verified, does he has created all the security clearance, all those things. Beautiful, Anil B. So don't use default service account because it's an editor role. So that's a good one, I would say. Yes. So avoid using that. Let me just show you how the secret manager looks like. I may need to enable the API because I'm doing it for the first time. It's a vault, folks. That's it. A vault in GCP itself. Auditing. Yes, Mohammed, that's a very important. Auditing is very important. Audit your logs specifically for any of those impersonation stuffs which you create. Basically, when you give somebody service token creator role, service account user role, audit it basically. So basically it is set IAM policy. So this is your secret manager. I have not enabled the API. Let me enable it. Uh, uh, some of the SOC guidelines need to look into it. Don't have an idea, Mangesh, there. So whether SOC guidelines is going to apply here, I need to check it. Allow enable APIs only when it's required. Yeah, that's true. So Anil B, so who can only do enable API is only a owner. So restrict the number of people who can have owner access. And Vivek's point of put organizational constraints. That's a good one. Secret manager. This is how I do it. Create a secret manager. Click on create. I can give option to SA key. That is my name. and I can upload it. I can give a text also. I can give a text, or I can upload this thing. So I have already, this is how I do it, folks. I also do implementations. So what I do is I never share any this thing with the team directly. So what I do is I create the password, because the requirement is from the customer. Never share the password, keys, anything via email. Even if it's your own corporate email, don't do it. So uh, if I just do this one, right, I just uploaded it. So this is my key content. What I'll do is I will select the region. If I want specifically where my keys has to be stored, in which region, your choice. I'll just choose it as Singapore and Mumbai. Better to keep it in two places. Then create it. Now what I do is I create this secret manager entry. Then I'll give this access to the individual who wants to view it. So if I click view, I should be able to see the view key. So let them copy it. Instead of sending it via email, everything is managed in GCP. So I will usually share them. Okay, you have been granted access to this key, or this secret entry. Go look into it. That's what I do. So that's the best practice. There's one question. Saving so many audit points for managing access. Just throw some. So I need to look into that, Mangesh. I'll just look into it as we progress. I'll talk more about it. This was something specific to IAM. Uh, do revisit the service account. We will revisit it if we can have extra access. So I'll talk about that. We have to talk. So use policy hierarchy whenever applicable. Okay, so these are some of the best practices. I guess you mentioned most of the stuffs in the slide which I had. So I'm just going to say that uh, towards the end, I'll show you something called a security command center, which is not an important thing from the exam perspective, but if you were to do some review, all those things, that's going to be helpful. So I'll show you that towards the end. Now let's go into the
Actually,
best
sir,
practice.
I was saying yesterday you showed us the security. So this is the another thing we should do. So I am comfortable with the security command center. So I'm not. I
Okay,
was just saying
sure.
about one thing. Yeah.
Sure. I'll show it. So others have not seen it. So let me show you that also. So the next part, the best practice, as most of you mentioned, always grant uh, roles to a group. We have also done a live demonstration in our second day or third day, if I'm not wrong, where I gave you access and you were able to do it. So it was so easy to manage access there. So create a group like Cloud Architect, whatever it is. Then add people to that, simple, and give them the access. So this is not something very specific to GCP. This is a standard rule. Everybody follows it. Even in GCP, it is followed. Always grant users to group. And we did this demo, so I'm not going to do this one more time. So we created a group and added you, and you got an access to batch 6 where you created virtual machines, all those things. So I'm just going to skip this part. Basically, I used to show this for other batches where I used to add only my entries and show it, but I wanted to have a live interaction, so I added you people and do it. Now you know how it works. Basically, groups is an important thing. This is something very
Mangesh,
specific to GCP. Yeah.
one question about groups. If
Yeah.
I, integrate with the on-premise Active Directory, the
Mm,
users are there in on-premise Active Directory. Is
mm.
that if I want to create a group, do I need to create a group in on-premise Active Directory and add the member, and it automatically sync to the,
Okay.
you know,
I'll talk about this in next 3 minutes or 5 minutes. So there's a slide on that. So if you create it, there are two options. You either create it in on-prem, sync it, that is option number one, or you create a group in GCP itself and do it. Two options are
yeah.
possible. Both are
Actually,
possible if you do a sync.
yeah, I received, the one, issues. So that's what I asked, which is the best one? Do I need to
Best
get
option
in?
if you have an on-prem, sync. So create a group in the on-prem is going to be a better way. One
Yeah.
source
If
of
the
truth,
use,
one source of truth.
if the user in cloud, then create a group in cloud is the best option, right?
Yes. So the next one, principle
Okay.
of least privilege. Yeah, principle of least privilege, which most of you mentioned. Uh, use always predefined roles or custom roles. Try to avoid as much as possible primitive role. There are situations you have to give it, but to the person or to the group which you're giving, make sure those vetting has been done. It's going to be easily tracked. If you give them some role, it's going to be easily tracked who did it. It's going to be easy because there's no impersonation there. But avoid giving anybody editor role, owner roles, all those things. And I have also done few audits. What I do usually is, I would have shared this if I'm not wrong. So the first thing which I do usually is go to there. They will give me viewer access. So the organization. So if I just go look into the IAM, simple, not huge stuff. So just go to IAM. I just put a filter to check whether who are having roles, owner who's having editor role. So this is what I usually do. So first step, put a filter, user. I should usually get 0 results, because if I get 0 results, meaning I have not given individual anybody access. So I should get only results for if I do basically a group, meaning they have followed the best practices. In our case, it is totally opposite. We have not created any group. So this is a red flag. The second thing which I do basically is put a filter on role and owner is what I put. So if I get this more, one is okay. Uh, if it's more, that's going to be another red flag. I'll ask why this person should have owner. So this is going to be in my observations page. Okay, saying that these are the stuffs which you have to change. Editor. This is another thing which is going to raise a red flag. Then one more role, which is service. Why it's not showing up? So why, okay, so let me just see it here. I don't know why it's not showing that role there. It should be able to show that service. Okay, it's not showing that. Okay, type. Okay, I'll see this option. Roles. I'll look for, oh, do we don't have anybody with service? Okay, we don't have, okay, we don't have any user with service account user role. So that's the reason it's not showing up. Yeah. So those are 3 steps which I would primarily look for when I'm doing any audit. So set IAM policy if to make somebody owner or so reduce the number of accounts here basically, and act as basically these 3 roles are very powerful roles. So avoid giving it to many people. If you give it, do some audit basically. And this one, grant service account actor. So this was previously called as actor, now it is called as user role, uh, on a service account, not on a specific project. So meaning don't give it at a project level, so that he is going to be acting as the service account for all the things. So give it to a specific service account, the last option which we tried. Individual service account, it's going to be little easy to track. So these are something with respect to GCP specific. Grant principle of least privilege works in every cloud, but specifically to Google, these are things which you need to take into consideration and set IAM policy. This is what Mohammed was mentioning. Do the audit of this whenever you give access to this people, this role. Key rotation, we really understood the value of key rotation. And how do you do? There is no tool as such currently, so you have to do it manually or use some REST APIs or write something in a client library like Node.js. How you do usually is create a new key, replace the old key, and lastly delete the existing key, so that it is not going to impact much. So this is one important thing which you have to do: regularly rotate the key. So meaning if I do the audit again, if I go into this service account, I can easily find out the keys which is older X number of days. That's going to be a red flag again. And I have used one product called as from Paul Alto called as Prism or something. It gives that indication very clearly. There are tools which can provide you that also. And similarly for virtual machine, we are not talked much about it, but when it is anywhere anything to do with keys, make sure you rotate them regularly. That's another best practice. The next best practice is something very specific to GCP because GCP follows that hierarchy. What's there in your on-premise, you try to create the same thing in GCP also. Organization, super boss, boss, manager, that kind of a stuff. The same kind of a hierarchy, if you create it, it's going to be easier to manage it in GCP. So that's one best practice. Project level access, try to give more at the low level project or resource then giving it at an organization level. One of you mentioned this. So avoid giving everything at an org level. Give it at a lower privilege level or at a lower node. There are only four: org node, folder node, project node, and resource node. So if you give it at resource node, it's going to be the best option. Project node is okay, but when you go up, make sure you are giving very less privilege. Regular audit is very, very important. So we'll talk about how to see the logs at a later point of time. So, but auditing is very, very important. The next best practice, which Vijay was asking, it is this one. So sync users, basically, you have a utility. If you just search in net itself, Google Cloud Directory Sync, what it's going to do is you need to download this executable, install it on your on-premise Active Directories machine itself. In that machine only you have to install it. Once you install it, you can synchronize the account, and it is one-way synchronization, folks. The arrow is very important here. So the one-way synchronization only, meaning you add people, it's going to add it. If you add somebody in cloud identity, it's not going to add it here. So here you can add the Active Directory can have users, it can have groups. All those things are going to be synced. But one most important thing is this could be somewhat related to exam. The password remains in your Active Directory. So only the email IDs, whether it's an individual email ID or a group, only that is synchronized. And whenever you want to do authentication, it's going to be delegated back to your Active Directory only. So where you turn on SAML kind of uh, single sign-on option, then you should be able to use the same username. And when it prompts for a password, it's going to do a federation basically. So one-way sync, and only the emails, the user profile is created, but the password still remains in Active Directory. So that way your Active Directory is going to remain as single source of truth. So install the sync, it's going to do. And how do I do the federation? Let me just show, then take up any questions. So if I just go to my org node, so I have to go to this one, sorry, admin.google.com. So let me just go to admin.google.com. Assume the synchronization has been done. Now, how do you do? Now, person in on-premise has an email ID like Mahesh at example.com. Now, if I just go to my security inside my cloud identity, so once the sync happens, right, what is going to happen? There's a question, let me answer it once I finish this. So once I do the syncing, you will see the users who's there in on-premise. It's going to have an entry here. That's the first thing. Similarly, if there's any groups created in on-premise, it's going to be synced into groups here. So you will have a group entry here. If you delete it there, it's going to be deleted here. Sync, one-way sync. But if you add a group here, this group will not be updated or synced in Active Directory. It's one-way sync. That's one thing. Once your user information is there, you can definitely grant him access in your IAM. Then he will log in, right? He or she will log in. So when they log in, they will log in with their email ID, mahesh at example.com. So when they do it, it's going to ask to authenticate. So at that time, so you will have this option of two options. You can have a third party identity provider, or you can use Google as an identity provider also. So if I just show you this, So Google Identity Provider. So you need to have these things turned on, some stuffs which you need to update in your Active Directory. Once you do this, the single sign-on is going to be established. This is Google Active Directory, sorry, Google Identity Provider. If you don't want Google, but if you want to use something else like Okta, Ping kind of stuffs, you have this option called as is that third party, yeah, set up single sign-on with third party identity provider. So it could be Okta, Ping. There are lots of options available. You can use those things. So this is the option which you can do. Now let me answer that question. Do we have a posture check if the cloud identity before user connects to Google environment? Did not understand the question, Mohammed. What do you mean by that? Uh, you want to check whether connects to Google environment. Did not understand. If you can put it in some other form for me to understand.
Mahesh, Vivek this side. Hello.
Yeah, Vivek. Yeah, Vivek.
Actually, I had one question in exam last week. So, like, if I want to authenticate user by using SAML,
Uh-huh.
uh, and I have by Okta as a service
Uh,
provider. So
mhm.
I was really confused. Who will be the identity provider and who will be the service provider? The question was like that: if you want to authenticate by using SAML and you hired a third-party vendor like Okta, and which is having 6,500 application authentic in his database, and how you will authenticate and who will be the service identity provider, who will be the service provider. So can you
Okay.
help me? I was really confused. As I can see, there are two options that Google can also work as an identity provider, and third
Mm.
party vendor can also work as a service provider. So they really gave an option that the customer want to authenticate has a in on-premises third party like Okta or something vendor was there. They have named the vendor explicitly. There was a vendor who by using they were doing SSO. So I was really confused who will be act as a in which case Google will act as a identity provider and like other vendor will be worked as a identity provider.
So okay. If uh, if it is Google, okay. Need to check that part. Let me just see it. So you have Okta also. You have Google also. In which case to go with which one is the question? Uh,
Yeah, the in question is it was there like I am a
mhm.
customer. I
Okay,
have
if it
a
is SAML, okay, if Vijay has mentioned, Vijay mentioned, so to sign on for SAML applications,
hmm,
the best option, if you see, it's going to be Google as a SAML provider. So in this case, Google is going to help you out. So if it's SAML, if it's single sign-on with not with SAML, then it's going to be your Okta, Ping kind of stuffs.
oh
The word
okay.
SAML could be a differentiator there,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah, Mahesh. I just want to and just want to talk about Azure. We
Mhm.
called AD and Federation Server. Those we called as a identity provider, and
Mhm.
SAML we called as a service provider, like Azure.
Okay,
Mm,
got it.
In the GCP, we don't have that Active Directory, right? So maybe
Correct.
you said something like, GCP identity provider. You said something before. I forgot the name.
Uh, this one was this one directory sync you were talking?
Yeah, yeah. So identity provider, it's something like it is comes from like inbuilt by Google based identity provider.
Mhm.
Even Federation server also we consider as identity provider.
So it federates to the on-prem, yeah. And
Yeah.
Google also can, if you like, you can also do something with what? If I just go to my organization node, it provides you AD as managed AD. So there's a new option which they are providing. So you can get managed Active Directory in GCP also. So if I just go slightly out of topic, but just to share you this under security, manage Microsoft Active Directory. You get this here. So this is a new feature. So if you want to manage it here also, you can give a try. So this is another option which has been recently added. Or you can use Marketplace. I guess we have not talked about Marketplace. We'll talk it later. So you can also do that. You can have a AD provision in GCP also. So this is going to be more managed options. And thanks Vijay for pitching in for that SAML part. So the SAML is going to be the differentiator, Vivek, for your this thing. That's going to help you out. And
So SAML would
okay,
be a identity provider and Google could be a service provider. If, in conclusion, so I
yeah,
was
yeah,
really
yeah,
confused actually.
yeah. So in
Okay.
Azure, we do conditional checks like is the machine domain joined? Is it from a specific IP? Okay, something like okay. This is Mohammed. This is specifically to a virtual machine, is what you're saying, right? Uh,
It is basically for the end user machines, Mahesh, when end user connects to the Google environment. So I just
uh-huh.
wanted to put a conditional checks whether that is a domain joined machine or it is a specific coming from a specific IP, then I will not allow it. For example, I don't want users to access the Google environment from their personal laptops. So I wanted to put up a condition.
Okay. So that is basically some device constraints, is what you're trying to put.
Yes, device
So
constraint, yes, and the
yeah.
IP kind of, yeah.
So something is possible. So that is done in your this thing. So use corporate data on corporate device. So this is something possible there, where you can put a restriction. So I will not have that access here with. I can use this option, folks. Mohammed. So mobile device, what kind of so there are a few things. Chrome device, and it does not work fully. You cannot put restriction fully there. So you can restrict the Chrome. When they log in, they have to log into Chrome, which is managed by your organization. Now, for example, if you see here, uh, this account is managed by this. Similarly, when I go to the Chrome, it's also going to show the Chrome browser is fully managed by my organization. So if I put those kind of stuffs, basically Chrome devices, managed browser, this is what you can do. Uh, Specifically, browser level stuff, you can do it, but there are few things which they are trying to do still, where like if you see Google itself, right? Google heavily uses, most of the employees uses uh, Chromebooks or Mac. That's what I have seen most of when they show any demos. It easily says it's either a Chromebook or this thing. So if it's Chromebook, you can use this option. If it's a Mac, they use something called as endpoint, using which they can manage it easily. So these are the options which you can help to find. Only my corporate device should connect to GCP. So I had done one small implementation this the last year. So when most of them started working from home, they wanted to put this restriction in their organization. So they wanted to turn on this. So it was mix of all OS, Windows, Linux, Mac, Chrome, all those things. So what we thought is, instead of putting restriction at a device level, anyway to access GCP, they have to use the console. So we made sure the browser is managed by us. We control the browser, and if they try to connect it from Firefox or Internet Explorer, we are not able to block it. Currently, that was a limitation. Uh, but from the Chrome browser, we try to restrict it. So you have to log into a VPN. Only then you should be able to connect it. Those kind of restrictions we had put it. So that is one option which you can do, Mohammed. Can we conclude who will act as a provider versus service identity provider? Okay, if it's Sam, okay, I will get a better clarity on this, folks. Vijay, help me, but on that. So I'm just going to get back to you on this part. So I'll make a note of this. Tomorrow I'll get back to you. So I'm not fully
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I got also partial answer only, so I'll do some research on this and I'll get back to you.
Because you know, I read something in document. Now, by reading that Google document itself, I got confused. That's why who
Got
will
it,
act
got
as
it,
provider? There was no clear definition actually, even in the document.
got
Yeah,
it.
let
So
me
I'll check it.
uh, yeah, let me explain. Actually, identity provider is nothing but where your identity is stored. So service provider that will link to your service provider to authenticate it. Like
So
if it is yeah.
so to put it in simple terms, it is like this, like you create your identity in Google, accounts.google.com. So now the identity provider is Google. So your email, if it is user@gmail.com, so your identity is saved in, verified, saved in Google. Now you
Yeah.
use the same identity to log into some web application where you are not going to create username password, but you are going to use OAuth, where you say, I will use the same authentication or identity which I used in my Google, like how you use Facebook, Google, all those things in some other website, right? It is the same thing. So here Google is going to be the identity provider. Some XYZ web application is going to be your service provider, if I'm not wrong, Vijay. Is that my understanding
Yeah.
correct?
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, Magesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
that is
basic, one more example. For example, Vivek, I'll have my Google file sheets in Google Drive, but I don't wanted to give Vivek at gmail.com an access to that Google files. When you log in, I would take you to my Active Directory via SAML authentication and get Vivek at vivek.misra at organization.com, which the identity will get verified using SAML with the Active Directory. There comes the identity provider. And once that is passed, it passes back to the Google Cloud, so that you can access the services basically. The Google
So,
file is a service, sheet is a service. So Google becomes a service provider here, and Azure Active Directory becomes an identity provider there.
Awesome
okay.
example. Awesome example, Mohammed. And thanks, Vivek. Sorry, thanks, Vijay, and thanks, Vivek, for asking this question. So,
It was the first question in ACE exam actually. Very first question.
so
Who and
okay, just out of topic, what I have seen, right? 6 times I have taken it, two recertifications, for first time certification. The first question is always going to take 5 minutes, is what I have seen. Just out of topic, but this is the trend which I have seen, at least with myself. So first question is always going to be tricky. Maybe just is purposely done. I don't know. Sometimes it sometimes demotivates the person who's taking it. Did I learn GCP well or not? So, but after you pick up, right, you are going to go. It's like your first gear in your car. So it's going to take time to move starting. Then once it is there, you will be in the fifth gear or in the sixth gear. So
even the
I have seen this.
First question was almost 5 or 6 of line. They said that they have a 6,500 application and they want
Hmm,
to authenticate every application via SAML. They have their own identity, but let me know who will work, how you will design a authentication system for this design. Well, I mean, given a very long question, but it was really
hmm.
big question. Everything was present. 6,500 application has in the inventory. How you will uh, uh, design who will work as an identity provider and who will work as a service provider. Two option was of auth 2.0, so I have just ignored it. But
Hmm.
one it took almost 5 to 7 minutes. I was
That
I read all, I already read the this thing, but still I was confused because it was very tricky, very tricky. Matlab, they were saying ki the like whatever you have read now, you will reach, but via zigzag path. It was the question was very confusing. That's why I wanted to ask you when this
sure.
session will be concluded. I will ask this question.
Got it. And just for your information, folks, the exam which Vivek is mentioning is the Associate Cloud Engineer, which he cleared it last week, last to last week. So that's the exam. It's the other one, Associate Cloud Engineer. So even there, people are expecting you to know this kind of design stuff. So slightly, the grade is upgraded there, I would say. So that's on your Active Directory, folks.
One more thing,
One
Mahesh.
important thing.
Last question. One of my friend had similar question for PCA. If you have a LDAP authentication, your application is being authenticated by using LDAP directory, classic LDAP directory. How you will design an authentication system with GCP? You don't have ID. Okay, it was the one of the questions he has got in his PCA exam actually, last week actually.
So
So
maybe possible is to use Cloud Directory Sync there.
only LDAP, there is no ID, sir.
So that's possible, I would say. Only LDAP. So maybe looking at the options can give some idea, but there could be a possibility of using Cloud Directory Sync. So if I use Cloud Directory,
as I told you, no, I am very weak in IAM still. I thought
Cloud Directory Sync.
you read in related to IAM, na?
Actually,
Any new question will always be a new question.
Mohammed, let me answer. So LDAP,
See here,
LDAP is nothing but it's
it is also the same thing. So it's just the LDAP is open source Active Directory. I would say it is more of something which is provided by Microsoft, managed or a better version of it. An enterprise version of it. To put it in very simple terms, LDAP you get Open LDAP server basically.
Yeah, Mohammed, let me explain about this LDAP. So LDAP basically what is do the protocol, it's query the user. The purpose is query the user only. If any application you want to pull out some kind of group, they will use LDAP. So if in terms of if you go for any cloud-based application, it is not support internet-based application. It's only you can use for on-premise Active Directory. You can use LDAP. Any application through over the internet, you can use like OpenID or kind of authentication.
Okay, Vijay, actually it is Vivek. So yeah, Vivek is the one who raised this question. My view is that what Vivek is asking, he is not using Active Directory. So LDAP, what you are saying is basically to enumerate the users. Anybody authenticated a domain user, Vijay is part of Active Directory, can enumerate the Active Directory via LDAP command, the 3268 port we give by giving the domain.com, right? So what Vivek is referring here, apart from Microsoft, there are also other LDAP services, which is even you can do it via Linux. So that is what he is referring. So non-Active Directory, but LDAP basically.
Legacy LDAP authentication system. It was mentioned like customer using legacy LDAP authentication server. How you will migrate? How will authenticate users with GCP? It was like that. It was mentioned legacy. Legacy was there. There.
So then Cloud
Yeah,
Directory
that's what I'm
Sync
saying.
actually. So
Actually, you need to use OpenID OAuth. It is not an Active Directory protocol. OpenID and OAuth is used for authentication and authorization. So I also real time I face the same issue. So instead of LDAP, I was using these two protocol.
OpenID and OAuth 2.0.
Yeah, OpenID and OAuth.
Okay, maybe. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, folks, for jumping in and making it as a joint collaboration. So that's good. So instead of me always talking, thanks for Mohammed, Vijay, Vivek for asking this question.
Yeah. Mahesh, the conclusion is that even an enterprise who's having like 200,000 of users, they need to sign up for cloud identity to sync.
No, they don't need to sign up. They don't need to sign up. So you have the sync, because if it's one user, you can ask them to sign up and do it. So like the one which we did, like Mahesh at Microsoft.com, I showed you that example, right? You go to accounts.google.com, sign up. But if it's a bulk sync which you have to do, use the synchronization tool so that it syncs, everything is available in your cloud identity. Then you give them the access. That's going to be the better way.
There is something like you need to authenticate your domain that you're really the owner of that example.com in cloud
That
identity.
is when you're creating the identity, when you're creating the domain. When you're creating the domain, sorry, when you're creating the organization node, you have to verify yourself that you own this domain. So once you say, for example, it is something like this.
Okay,
So there's a, so let me just explain it. So there is an organization.example.com. They are something Microsoft users. They are using all Microsoft stuffs, assume. So if you are using that, now they wanted to use some part in GCP. So what they will do basically is they have users, groups, all those things. First, anyway, their domain is already available. So they'll go to cloud identity, the process which I showed. So go to create an organization node where you use cloud identity, register, prove that you own this domain. So once you show that, you will have a GCP account which is going to have an org node. Now, once you have this org node, you can go to admin.google.com. Then, if you want, you can add individual users directly there, or you use cloud directory, gcloud directory sync. This you use where from your on-prem to this one to your cloud identity, it's going to come. So it's going to have all those 100 users or 20 users, whatever it is. It's going to have the entry in your admin.google.com. So now once the entry is there, you can give them access in your IAM, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mahesh, there is one more also, this domain verification with that this TXT record we'll do, right? So
That is what you have to do it when you are doing this. So let me just show you this one. Uh, so you have to add a MX record or a TX record, TXT record, if you have it. So if I just go to admin, IAM and admin, identity and organization. This is where you are going to create an organization first. So create an organization. So if this domain is already taken by somebody or something, you want to show that it is yours, then you need to add that MX record or sometimes TX record. If it can send emails, they can even add MX records. If it cannot send emails, some of the domains, if you have not purchased that, you can just add TX records. So if you just open here, you enter the details. We had seen it, right? So you use cloud identity, do everything here. So here only you prove it yourself that the domain you own the domain basically. So if I just use example, just me, so India, I so here I have to have a domain which exists. So learn GCP with dot. I don't have a domain like this. If I do this, it's going to show either the domain exists or does not exist. Purchase it yet. So if I already have a domain which is there, .com, it's going to show it's already been used. If you want to claim it that it is yours, then you do the stuff. If it's not been added itself also, it's going to ask you to add a MX record or a text record. Either one of them is going to work out, Mohammed. Once you do this, the remaining steps follows very easily.
thank you, Mahesh.
Yeah. So that's the end of our IAM stuff. So what we'll do is we'll take a 10 minutes break, folks. I did not even see, my apologies, the time. So, and there was an interactive question. So I hope you did not get exhausted. So let's take a 10 minutes break. Once we come back from the break, we'll have some quiz. So these questions are from the practice exam, from the official practice exams, but put in an order of which module you cover. So if you take usually the practice exams, right, they'll have all concepts questions. So what I have done is, once we finish IAM, I wanted to focus only on IAM questions. So that is what I have done. Some questions which people ask me, I have tried to put it also there. Let's see the questions after coming back from a break. Take a break and come back.
This conference will now be recorded.
So there's one question from Kumar. So is there any suggestion on practice exams for this each module? For each module, what I would suggest is, I've already done that, Kumar. So at least one or minimum two questions would be, so minimum one or at least 2 questions would be there each module wise. That's one option is what I would recommend. But if you feel you want to buy some sources, all those things, unless if the source is not mentioned in cloud.google.com website, I would not recommend. It could be any popular course. I don't recommend it. So if you just go here, GCP Cloud Architect. So if they mention it in the website, go for it, official. And you will see there are lots of unofficial materials. Don't want to name anything. Uh, so here there's some where they mention official guide. There's going to be an option here, sample. I usually refer to this case study, practice exams. This is static, uh, but good, I would say. There's some materials available. If it's somewhere from cloud.google.com, Kumar, rely on it. I can rely on it. If it's not, it could be anything. The most popular brand, but I still don't rely on it because what I have seen many people reaching out to me on this, like various sources, one which starts with W, one which starts with U. So I don't want to name anything there. So they mentioned the questions itself is not clear. There's grammatical mistakes in the questions. It's not very clear. And a few questions I have seen from an organization which starts with C, not Coursera, something else. So questions are something people come from different background. The people who create those questions, they come from a different background. Their focus is more on AWS, Azure. The question they try to put on the practice exam is more towards from that background, so which is not making them to understand very clearly whether it is really they have learned it or not. So I can just say a real experience. Batch 5, one of the person taking the class, and he took one practice exam material from outside. So the questions there was so much badly written, badly articulated, uh, and wrong answers. His motivation came down. So he felt like whether he has really learned it or not. Then I had to have a call with him and tell him that. Uh, and he showed me the screen of that the website where those questions was there, and I told the English is not good. They are not articulated very well, and the questions I was able to show him few answers were wrong. I showed him with some documentation. Then he was convinced, and he went and cleared it. And I afterwards he called me, and I asked him, "What was your thing? So what was your thought? Was the question relevant to what you were seeing it?" He told no. So the questions from the practice, this official practice was better than was somewhat resonating with what he had seen. So my key takeaway is, I would say, is avoid any other unofficial sources. If it's from cloud.google.com or google.com, rely on it. If it's anything else, don't take it. Coursera, Pluralsight, these are all official one. You can see it, you can take it. But anything else, I would say you may wane your money there, basically, taking that. So look into the practice exam. And what I usually suggest is, I suggest is towards the end. We are learning cloud architect, but there are six or five more certifications in Google. So go take the practice exam of everything. Does not matter. So if it's on security engineer, we are talking about around 30% or 40% of security stuffs, 40% of networking. So you can take those practice exams also. So that's going to be a better way rather than buying something from a unofficial source. Hope that answers your question, Kumar. So now please turn your question mode, the send option, to organizer, organizer or Mahesh, so that you send me the questions only, answer only to me, so that let's not bias anybody. And don't on your mic and start talking here. So let's use the chat only for the question. And I'm going to give an explanation. At that time, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself. So just to make everybody think, that's the only intent, nothing else. So the first question, your customer is moving their corporate application to Google Cloud Platform. The security team wants a detailed visibility of all projects in the organization. So you provision Google Cloud Resource Manager and set up yourself as an org admin. Which Google identity and access management role should you give to the security team? Now, the questions pattern is going to be somewhat similar. So it is taken from the practice exam, but I have added for you to get started with, I have added basically with detailed visibility on all. So some important keywords, I have made it as bold. So and underscored it so that you should focus on those things. So when you get used to it, right, when you're reading the questions, you should do the same thing in the exam. What is the keyword which is important, which can decide the stuff? So that is what you should focus basically on. So I've already got few responses, and to encourage, I'm going to name the name of the people who are mentioning it. So Anil B, Anil Kumar, Vivek, Smith Shah so far gave the right answer. Mohammad Mansur Ali gave the right answer. And we are going to only put 2 minutes only, folks. Mangesh gave it correctly. So 1 minute already over. Every question only 2 minutes. Shripal got it correctly. So let's give others to think. The only reason for putting 2 minutes is you have 50 questions. 50 into 2, 100 minutes is going to be going there itself. And you are only left with what? Basically 20 minutes for review and all. So that's the reason I wanted you to practice it right from the beginning itself. So couple of wrong answers. When it is wrong, I'm not going to mention the name, so not to discourage them. You make all the mistakes here in the class, folks. Don't make the mistakes in the class. All right, folks, I have 15 seconds more, then we'll go for an explanation. So I'm not just going to say A is the right answer, C is the right answer, or B is the right answer, or D, but I'm going to give you an explanation. That is what is important here, more than giving. So anybody, you can get this answer even in the documentation. So, but from our perspective, what we have learned, what's the right answer is what we are going to see. So time up, folks. Some of you did not answer. Give a try, please. So it's a closed circle. So be pretty much open, make mistakes, but participate in the quiz part. So first option, org viewer. And before going into this, right, the question you need to understand it a little clearly. So it is security team. What does a security team does, folks? They check for any they check whether all the best practice has been used. Is there anything which is open to the internet, any vulnerabilities, all those things basically is what they are going to see. So for such kind of team, right, they are not going to do any changes. They are not going to create a resource, delete a resource. So basically a security team, if you can give read only access, that should be good enough is what I feel basically. Before I look into the option, this is what should strike me. And they want a detailed visibility of all the resources in all the projects basically. So first, what I should see, let me look into the options. Org viewer and project owner. Organization viewer. When I look at organization viewer, what's going to happen is I'm going to get my organization policies, which is defined. So which is an important one. That's a good one, I would say. Project owner. If I make somebody project owner, is a broader access which you're giving to them. So this user can go and create resource and delete resource. But for a security admin, do you need that? Or a security team, do you need it? Answer is no, because you have to always use principle of least privilege. And no way they are going to mention as per Google's principle of least privilege. It is assumed that you give always the best solution. So nobody is going to have, let's give a simple solution, or which is like which can work, but it's not the best one. So always try to give the best one. Few assumptions have to be made. So you have to use the best principle of least privilege here, all those things. So owner is very broad, so it's not going to make it. So it's you are giving very broad access to the security team. So option A gets ruled out. Option B, org viewer, project viewer. So we have seen if we give somebody viewer access, he or she can see the entire project details, IAM, what stuffs, but everything is going to be read only. That's going to be good. So read-only access to projects, read-only access to the policies and all. So that's going to be a good choice. Now there's a question which can come. Why not only org viewer? If I just have org viewer, will I be able to access the project details? To answer this, why don't I jump into a small demonstration? So if I just go here, so this is going to be a good option. So org viewer. First of all, let's see whether such a role exists or not. So if I just go to my roles, so if I search for organization viewer, awesome, such a role exists. Click on this in a new tab. Similarly, I look for project. There's nothing like project viewer. If I understand, it is basically viewer is what they are saying. Actually, viewer. There's no role like project viewer, exactly the name. So I have to use role/viewer. This is the role basically at a project level. So let me open this also. A project viewer will have roughly around, let me just see, around 1000 plus permissions. I'm not asking you to remember everything, but whatever you do here, this is at a project level only. But anything above my, if it's anything above my project, I will not be able to see it. So that's where this org viewer is going to help me. So org viewer is going to help me out there to know the entire structure. So both are required. If you just give org viewer, only organization node is what I'm going to see, nothing else. So I need a project viewer completely, basically. So somebody had a question like, is just org viewer enough? Answer is no. You need to have both. Or if you ask me, this itself is good enough. This itself is good enough, but I have to give it for all projects. Why do I need to do that? So what I will do is I'll go to my org level, give that security team a project viewer or just viewer access. So that's going to help him out. And he's also going to have that organization details and all. So option B looks more attractive than option A. Looking at the next option. So let me just mark it as a temporary answer. Option C, cloud org admin, not acceptable. I can do some policy changes there, so it's not acceptable. Project browser, again, not acceptable. If I just have browser access, I can just see the resource. I cannot like what is my project, what is my IAM. I will not be able to see the details of the resources, whether virtual machine is created with the best practice, is a bucket created with the best practice, is the bucket open to public. All those things I cannot see it. So C is not a good choice. Project owner, network admin. So there's nothing to do with network admin here, specific. And a project owner is again very broad. And you are giving it at a project owner, meaning all projects I cannot see it. Only that project only I can see it. So D is also not a good choice. So as most of you mentioned, E is a good choice compared to anything, and both are required. Not only one, both are required, basically. All right. Now, in conjunction with this, there's one more thing which you can use as a security admin or a security team, that is called as, so just wanted to show you that little at a high level. Uh, security 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 command center. So if you go to security command center, this is another important thing, so which was recently added. So it gives you a complete picture. It gives you the complete picture of your organization. What are the projects? Is there any vulnerability? All those details, it's going to scan it. So it's a very nice one. So usually questions on security command center can come in security professional security engineer, but just thought of sharing it with you. So this one, if I just come here, it's going to show me there are 6 vulnerabilities, uh, and which is high severity. If I click on it, it's going to show me the stuffs. Whether is there any firewall rule breach, is there anything with respect to buckets, all those things. It's going to give me those things. There is a single what is that, two-step verification is not enforced. There is some bucket which is exposed to the public, some SSH port is open, so it can show me very easily. So this is your security command center. We're not going to go deeper into this, but just wanted to share you, this is an option which gives you like one single uh, view of all the projects. In very short, I usually call this as the home screen for security admins or security team. They don't need to come to GCP the dashboard. They have to directly come here. It can show you the complete picture there. Okay. Moving on to the next question. Uh, you are a project owner and need your co-worker to deploy a new version of your application to App Engine. We only know there's a compute option called as App Engine. That's it. We don't know the IAM roles of it yet. Uh, you want to follow Google's recommended practice. Which IAM role should you follow to the core? So now they have really specifically mentioned recommended best practices. What should be the option which you should go for? Basically, go for it, folks. So I'm going to turn my timer. So far, Anil B, Smith Shah, Vivek has got it correctly. Only the coworker should be able to deploy it, nothing else. Anil Kumar, Shripal, Mangesh has got it correctly. Kumar got it correctly. Mohammed got it correctly. Good. Now you see this question, you people only took 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Now you are covering up. So to give you that stuff which Vivek mentioned, first question took 5 minutes, 7 minutes. So you'll pick it up. Ankit got it correctly. So you'll pick it up in the next questions quickly. So let me give 15 seconds more because most of you mentioned it. So 5 seconds more. We'll finish it in 1 minute. So because most of you gave it. Okay. So first of all, principle of Google's recommended practice. Project editor. If I give, it's not only editing App Engine, I can go edit something else also. So A gets ruled out. App Engine service admin. Uh, we don't know whether such a thing exists like that, but difference between project editor and app engine stuff, what we had seen in our pattern was any predefined roles always start with that service name, is what we had seen. App engine service admin, app engine deployer, app engine code viewer. Now the context here is they need to just deploy it. They just need to deploy, nothing else. Service admin, everything looks good, but this word admin is little tricky. It looks like more privilege is what you're going to give. Deployer and deploy somewhat gives, and even though we have not even looked into App Engine even in any details, but the name somewhat resonates. It's predefined roles. Code viewer, this is something which you can give it to a security team so that they can review whether there's any loopholes, any best practices not followed or not. But to do right operation, deploy is going to be a good choice. As most of you mentioned, C is a good choice. Now let's just verify whether such a role exists or not. So that is where when I mentioned, when you are, when I go to my roles, so I go to my roles. So that's where I mentioned, whenever you get bored with something where you're doing a routine work and you want to do something different, maybe after lunch, just come to this cloud IAM. So that way you are connected with GCP most of the time. So just go to IAM. So this is a very important one. So you can look at these various roles. I'm not asking you to memorize it. just simply, at least in a day, just come, click on add, look into the various roles which is there. So if I click on roles, just scroll, just keep scrolling, see one service at a time, big query, what are the roles which is having, and the pattern is going to be very simple. So once you demystify the pattern, it's always going to be a product name or a service name followed by editor, viewer, read, admin, something like that. So that's the same pattern is going to be followed. So just having the awareness is going to be really helpful. App engine, now service admin is there, deployer is there, code viewer is there. So all the roles exist. When you click on a deployer, you'll come to know you can do write operation. And thanks, Mishra, Vivek, uh, to add one more point. Service admin can only view, cannot delete a non-live version is what he mentions. We have not gone into it, but the name makes it very simple to do it. So we just gone with it. Sometimes you will have such questions like this. You would have prepared 6 months, 10 months, but there'll be one or two questions like this. But playing around with the words, playing with those best practices which you have learned will help you out. So we have not even looked into App Engine, but everybody were able to answer it. None of the answers were wrong. So just the name there. And the pattern is very simple to get it. Deployer. Next question. Little tricky. I'm going to give 2 minutes for this one. So, and I have tried to highlight some important words. Focus on this. So you want to create a new role for your colleagues. New role that will apply to all current and future projects created in your organization. The role should have the permission of BigQuery job user and Cloud Bigtable. Again, we don't know such a product, the roles there, but we know such a product exists in GCP, Cloud Bigtable, BigQuery. Uh, Specifically, we don't know the roles. So you want to follow Google's recommended practice. How should you create? Basically, go for it, folks. Let me put a small demarcation so that I know I have to refer to this later. Anything about this? So far, Vivek has got it correctly. Anil B. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, folks. 1 minute. It's a bit fast. I have to go through it. Okay. Vivek. So far, Vivek, Smith, Shah, Anil Kumar, Anil B. One wrong answer, two wrong answers. 40 seconds over, folks. Mohammad Mansur Ali got it correctly. One last minute, folks. Ankit got it correctly. Shripal got it correctly. Now you are getting this. For you to read it, get it, it's going to take around 1 minute 20 seconds. So it's a timer which you are getting. So anybody else? Kumar got it correctly. So 30 seconds is what you people took. One wrong answer. Last 10 seconds, folks. Anybody wants to add, please. All right, time up. Uh, you can change it. So here you make all mistakes, folks. You can change it. No, what I'm in the exam also you can change it. There's no problem until you click on submit button. You can always change your stuffs. And in the exam, there's going to be a button at the bottom, somewhere on the bottom left-hand corner, called as review for later. Whenever you are in doubt, check that box so that towards the end, it's going to show what are all the questions you wanted to review. So you can use that. So you can change it. The 2 minutes is what I'm putting. So let's try that stuff. Basically, in your exam, it's not always 2 minutes. Nothing like after 2 minutes, it's going to go to the next question. Nothing like that. Until you click on next, the question is going to be there only. You have to manually click it, but let's practice. That is the whole thing, Kumar. So you can change it. You can use that review for later option, all those things, so that you answer it correctly. So now let's go with the explanation. So mixed response. First question, or the first option, G-Cloud IAM combine roles, global, combine the two roles to a new custom role. Now you can blame me, Mahesh, you did not teach us this command. I'll take the blame. Let me just put this here. Possibly the reason why it is why global, combining two roles are there. Maybe combining can good work, and they have also used a specifier called as global. So looks like because all future projects, everything is there. So looking at a global level may look good better is what I feel. It's basically two roles, you're combining it and combining the roles basically. Maybe such a command exists. Who knows? Let's park it. We don't know. We have not explored it. And blame me, I did not teach you this command. Next option, for one of the projects in Google Cloud Platform Console under roles, select both the roles, combine them into a new role, use IAM promote role. Now, you can blame me, but we had not seen this command exactly. Promote to the role from project role, from project role to an org node. What it means is you are promoting. It's like a human getting promoted from a software engineer into a senior software engineer. I had given the same example. How does the flow happens? Maybe such a command can exist. Who knows? But our concept was very clear. The flow is always from top to bottom. Yes, Kumar. It was always from top to bottom. So what you have defined at org level, it's going to flow. It is not always, it's not from bottom to top. So we know that concept very clearly. So since we know that concept very clearly, B is not going to work. A, I'll just park it. I really don't know whether such an option exists or not. Yes, Smith. So B will not work because it is from top to bottom. It is from here. They are trying to promote it basically from bottom to top. That's not going to work. B is totally ruled out. Even though we did not learn the command, we know the concept. Top to bottom is how the hierarchy flows. So that concept helped us here. Option C, all the projects in Google Cloud Platform Console under roles, select both the roles and combine them into a custom role. Good option. C looks also a good option. So this is the first scan I'm doing. I'm just playing a role like as if I'm taking the exam. How do I do it? So when I do the first scan, I take some few things, I ignore few things based on some stuffs. C also looks good, but this word is little tricky. All projects, meaning today there are 10 projects. You are going to do this. It's going to work. But tomorrow, 11th project comes. This is not going to work. You have to go again do it because you are doing it at a project level. So, but there is one word called as future projects. So you have to focus on. So because if this word was not there, I would have told C is a good choice. But future projects, it cannot address. I'm going to take it off. Words, it's going to be playing with words basically. For your organization in your Google Cloud Console under roles, select both the roles and combine them into a custom role. So this is done at an org level. This is done at an org level, but this is done at a project level. If you do it at an org level, futuristic and current projects, both are going to work. Now, doing the stuffs, B is ruled out, C is ruled out from our understanding. It is between A and D is what you have to decide. You will have sometimes this kind of a clash. Now, we just started it. So we just started it. And with our limited knowledge, 4 weeks, 4 days of class, two options is what we have come to know. Now, option B, you can visualize it yourself. It comes. So basically, if I just go to my IAM org node, go org node, go to my, this is how we should have visualized it. Org node roles, get those BigQuery job user role, big table stuffs, combine it. Custom role is what they are trying to do. So you are going to basically do those things. So if I just use BigQuery job, this is the one which they mentioned. Yeah, job user. So here, then add this, open this role, create a custom role. Then what else you need to add? Cloud Bigtable user. So let me add a permission. So if I just go to add permission, so let me search by the role here. So it's going to be easier. So if I search for cloud, type it big table. So I'll just type big table user. If I'm not wrong, that was the role. Big table user role. So these are all the permissions, around 21 permissions. I have to do it. This is what they are saying basically. Now you have combined it. It's a custom role. Do it. This is something very similar which we had seen in our class itself, where we created two custom roles. We were trying to combine it, all those things. We were able to do it. So based on our demo which we did, B looks like something possible, but A, right, not very sure whether such a command exists. So now you need to take a call. Now this is where you can take a calculated risk and go with option D, and maybe come back and explore your gcloud command after you come back from the exam. And when you come back from the exam and you try this command combine, you'll come to know such a command does not exist. So such a command does not exist, but and that was the reason why I did not even showcase that such a command exists. So basically, if I just launch my cloud shell just to show you, I'm giving you tips. How do you usually find out the answer basically with what you have learned? So if I just do gcloud IAM combine, hit a tab, it's not going to work. Such a row or such a command does not exist in reality. So BA is a wrong command. B is going to be again, B is also not going to have a command like that. Promote, you don't have a role like this. Sorry, you don't have a gcloud command like that. A and B gets ruled out. But A, we were not very clear, but B, with our concept, we were able to rule it out. C, we were able to rule it out because of our concept, because future projects was not there. D was something which we had done very similar, close to it. So looks like a good choice. Let's look into the option. D is a good choice. Now, hope you get the flavor or the feel of how you do basically find out your answer. So few things would be straightforward, like the previous question. You people took only 30 seconds. This one, most of you took around a minute. The question itself was more to read. The time to read, if you're a very fast reader, you can definitely read it faster. So it took time. So this is a trick, folks, basically. Next question. You work in a small company where everyone should be able to view all resources of a specific project. You want to grant them access following Google's recommended practice. It's a small group, a startup. What's going to be the option? So your time starts now. And let me put that demarcation. And we did this demo, I can easily say. So it should not take much longer time. Smith Shah got it correctly. One wrong answer. Anil B got it correctly. Another wrong answer. Use all the best practices, folks. Ankit got it correctly. Anil Kumar got it correctly. Vivek got it correctly. Mohammed got it correctly. One wrong answer. $50 seconds more. Kumar got it correctly. Vijay Kumar got it correctly. Shripal got it correctly. So on an average, most of you are taking around 30 seconds to 1 point in that range. Mangesh got it correctly. So 30 seconds to 90 seconds is what I'm seeing as a pattern, folks. That's a good one, I would say. All right, I guess most of you have given, so we have 10 seconds more, but let's go into the explanation. First option, create a script that uses gcloud add IAM policy binding for all users and email address and the project viewer access. All view all access. So project viewer is going to make more sense. Project gcloud projects add IAM policy. We remember this command exists, so you cannot blame me. So we have done this demo. So for all users, and do it. Perfect. It looks like a good choice. What they wanted, I can definitely fulfill it. So let me just mark it as a possible option. If there's anything better than this, I'll switch to that. That's it. So create a script that uses gcloud IAM roles create for all the users, service for all the users, email address, and give. Why do you need two things here? This command going to create? It's going to create a IAM role. And why do you want to again assign it to another role? So what role you need is view access to all resource. Viewer role is good enough. This command is going to basically create a role, not a binding. What we want is a binding. So because it's going to create a role, it is of no use for us. So uh, so there was a question. Uh, Pinged you all my answers, Mahesh. No problem. No, it is presenter or me is okay. Presenter or me is okay. I'm the only presenter. So you can send it to Mahesh or you can send it to presenter. No problem. I will be able to see the stuffs, folks. No worries on it. So uh, A is a possible answer. May not be the best. I'm not sure. So let's look into it. B is totally not good because I'm creating a roles. What I want is a policy binding. Add IAM policy binding is what I'm looking at because they have to get viewer access, everybody. Create a group. Good one. Google group and add all users to the group. Perfect. Add use gcloud projects, add IAM policy with project viewer role and group email address. Perfect. This is what you need basically to do this. And compared to A, C is better because you know the reason. Going with groups is better than adding individuals. So tomorrow a new person joins the organization. I simply add that person to the group. He will automatically get viewer access. So compared to A, C is a better choice. Is there anything better than that? Let's see D. Create a Google group. Okay. Add all the members to the group. Perfect. Create use gcloud IAM roles create. This is not going to work. This is going to create a role, not a policy binding. So C is a better choice. A and C both are good, but they have mentioned Google's recommended practice. What is one of the recommended practice? Always use groups. So C is a good choice, folks. For folks who gave D, A kind of stuffs, you would have got the understanding now why C is the right choice. Hope the explanation is clear, folks. Now let's go to the next question. My favorite question, actually. you have data stored in Google Cloud Storage. And the question is always on IAM. So don't worry about the products which you are seeing here. So is a Google Cloud Storage data set and also in BigQuery data set. You need to secure the data and provide 3 different types of access levels to your Google Cloud Platform users: administrator, reader, read write, read only. You want to follow so you want to follow Google's recommended practice. What should you do? Your time starts now. $40 over, folks. No response so far. Okay, Smith got it correctly. Deepak Bandari got it correctly. One wrong answer. Anil Kumar got it correctly. Anil B got it correctly. One wrong answer. Two wrong answers. Make all mistakes here and don't even repent for making wrong in the class. Vivek Mishra got it correctly. No, one more wrong answer. 15 seconds more, folks. No, two wrong answers. Three wrong answers. All right, folks, time up. So let's go for the explanation. Shripal got it correctly. Now let's look into the options, folks. And it's really a confusing this thing. Yes, Vijay got it correctly. So it's really a confusing question, and there are two possible things, but the tiebreaker is a concept which we learned in our last week class. So create 3 custom roles: admin, editor, read write, read only, for the access needed for storage and BigQuery, and add users to the appropriate roles. Now the key part here is the way you should demystify this question is the administrator read write read only. It's basically to confuse you as much as possible. The reason is you should be an administrator for what? Not for the project, but you should be an administrator for only these 2 resources: storage and BigQuery. So you have to use storage admin, BigQuery admin, something like that kind of a role is what they are saying, but not viewer, editor, owner kind of a stuff. They are trying to confuse you. Only for these 2 resources only you should be administrator. Only for these 2 resources only you should be read only. Like that is the key part there. So custom roles could be a good choice with appropriate policies to access the levels needed for storage and BigQuery. This is a good choice. And add your users to an appropriate role. Absolutely a good choice. There's no doubt here. A, let me mark it. At an organization level, add your administrator user accounts to owner. Wrong. Add editor read write to editor. If I give that right, he will be a owner for the project. He can delete resource, create resource, add users, all those things. But what we need is only admin access to storage and BigQuery, not to the entire project. So B is totally ruled out because it does not fall under the principle of least privilege. Option C is the same thing. I usually do this trick, folks. When I do the exam, right, I'm not a fast reader. So instead of reading, right, I do this. Anyway, I will have a mouse. So I just do this way. By doing this, what I do is I look for the only word which is difference. Here it is org level, it is project level. I do this. Basically, I literally do this fastly. So reading, then if you are a fast reader, you can read it. I'm not a fast reader. I use this trick, and I come to know the only difference is a one word: project. There it is an org level. This is an or a project level, but the role is again broader. So it's going to be again a tricky, like it's not a recommended one because you're giving broad access. B and C gets ruled out because it's not principle of least privilege, and they don't need to be owner, editor, viewer. So A is one possible option. Option D: use appropriate predefined roles for each of the access level needed to Google Cloud Storage and BigQuery. Add your users to those roles for each service. D is also a good choice. Now A and B, A and D, which one should I go for, folks? Both are possible. Now this is where our concept comes into picture. Our cheat sheet also comes into picture, which we had created. So one of the cheat sheet we had mentioned, somewhere we had mentioned, if I'm not wrong, prefer to use always custom role, edit predefined roles. Did we mention it somewhere? We did not mention it, but we had seen it. It's going to be maintenance. You have to do it. We did not mention it. Let's mention it. We had seen, right, in our stuff, the documentation itself had shared you. Basically, you should always use, prefer to use predefined roles uh, whenever possible, because it is managed uh, by Google or GCP. So custom roles need to be managed by you. So this is an important one. I can add this in the implementation also, because as an architect you have to mention the manas for this. So requires operations work. That's it. So option D is a much better choice. Now if you have given A, you're there, you're already there. So B and C, I did not see much, but most of them, people who gave wrong gave A. So that's okay, you are there is what I would say. Basically the only thing is that some more fine tuning required so that you can find for those specific tie breakers. D is a good choice. So that brings us to the end of this second module on IAM, and it's not just the end. So throughout our class, every module we are going to talk about IAM in one or the other sense. In virtual machines, we are going to talk very heavily. We are going to do that part throughout other stuffs. So we'll stop it here. Anyway, it does not make any sense to start a module in 10 minutes. So I'm open for any questions, folks. Preference for today's questions. If there's no question, anything out of the topic, I'm okay. But the preference first is for today's topic, so that everybody is going to have a question there. All right, fine.
Mahesh, one small suggestion not related to the questions.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, is there any way, like maybe first 10 minutes, just summarize what we discussed last class or something like that?
Okay, I'll try to do it. And this one itself, if you take, if you see, it took almost like 3 classes for us to finish it. So
Yeah.
I'll try to do it. I'll try to do that.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Browser access. Anil B. It is basically the best way to find out what it's going to have is looking at the role. So browser access, if you have, right, it's going to basically is the question is what is this browser role going to do, Anil? Is that the question? Okay, if you just go, not many courses talks about this. It's a very nice one. So we had also talked about this in our previous class, if I'm not wrong. So to get this hierarchy, so you can see the folder structure, you can see the folder structure, you can see the organization structure, all those things, along with project structure with IAM policy. So this is the stuff. It's only 6 permissions which is going to have, but it is little powerful when it comes to above the project. Above the project, even your viewer role will not be able to get the folder structure, but browser can get the folder structure because you can go folders.get, folders.list, and also get the organization name. That's possible. So that's the difference between a viewer and a browser role. I can see the folder structure easily. Okay, so yeah, if you just look into the video, we have done it about the browser role, viewer role. So if I did it, let me just, maybe I can just show you quickly here. So what I will do is go to, I'll just click on this one, add a user. What I'll do is I'll just show you how what happens. I don't recollect whether I did it or not. It was it for a previous batch or something. So I'll just do this one, folks. So this is the user. I'm just going to give, I'm giving it an org level, folks. I'm giving it an org level. So what I will do is I'll give viewer role to this user. Now let's see what is going to happen. So at an org level, I'm giving it, folks. So whatever is there under this organization, I should be able to see it. Whatever is there. So the entire stuffs. So if I just open this, so this is entire stuff. I should be able to see it. Swap my screen to my Chrome browser. Now, if I just refresh the screen, I should be able to see it. Let's just wait for it to come up. So if I click on this project, I should see, what I will see is, I don't see any organization node, folks. You see website, Learn GCP Mahesh, and batch 1. These were the projects which you saw in this organization. So you see website, batch 1, Learn GCP Mahesh. There's no other projects, but I get access to all the projects, view only access. If I give you viewer at an org level, but I'll not get anything above my project. What is a folder? What is a org? All those things. Now, if I change this role to view browser, if I change this to browser, just the browser, nothing else. Now, if I refresh the screen, I will have an option to see my org nodes. Org node. I remember we did this, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So if I, it's a little difficult handling multiple projects. I usually forget there, but I recollect that we did this. It should be in the recordings. So now I should see an org node. If I click on this, I have now new option, organization, no organization. Previously it was not there. Now I see Learn GCP Mahesh project. I should be able to see the entire hierarchy here. So this is the difference, Anil B. Can the next question, can GCP Okay. Any GCP assessment which you can provide us for practice, like your real projects, it will help us improve our GCP design. So sure, as we progress, right, we will definitely do it. So as we progress, we'll definitely do that. I'll give you those kind of stuff, but I'll never monitor it. So I'm just going to give you a task. It's up to you whether it's proactive if you want to do it. Definitely will do that, Vijay Kumar. So we are still not there. So we are just started. So uh, when time comes, definitely I'll give you something like mini projects kind of stuff where you can try exploring. But for that, we have to come to at least some 50%. So we'll do that at that time. Uh, should you go through the Google Docs? Thanks. Okay. Should we go through the Google Docs? I would definitely say always yes. I would say whether you go through my videos one more time or not, but Google Docs are always going to be there. It's a ocean. So if you can search it properly, you should be able to do it. So I guess there's a video in my channel also about talking about the documentation, the best option. So if you install this app, it's going to be little easy. So it's everybody says the document is lengthy. It keeps on. It goes like a. It's like it keeps on continuously link after link after link. If I keep on going, it goes. And sometimes I myself have seen from where I started, I will come back to the same link. So that's how they have linked everything. So, but that patience of looking into the documentation will help definitely. So what I would suggest is use this app, a small app. If you just go to your Chrome browser, just search for in the address bar. If you type in the address bar, if you type cloud.google.com, cloud.google.com, here it's going to show a plus button. Just install that app. Once you install that app, right, you can search it very easily here. Whatever you search is going to only search from cloud.google.com. So this way you are not going to be diverted from other materials. So if I just search for say for example here, uh, I just go, usually people search in Google, right? So if you search here, uh, cloud IAM, if I do this, right, it's going to show the entire world's IAM stuff, but I'm focused more on GCP. So it's going to show, at least it is showing something from Google, most of them. Maybe they are tracking what I'm doing. So that's how they are able to get it. IAM also, IBM stuff also is going to show. But if you use this app, if you search for IAM, it's only going to show GCP related IAM stuff. So that way your diversion is less and you can start focusing much there. But just following the pattern once is going to be helpful, Anil. So once you pattern how these documents are linked is going to be helpful. I'll always suggest to look into the documentation. All the videos, all the concepts which I do is always from these documentation. Nobody else can beat this documentation. It could be an author who writes this thing. It's going to be again from here. Yeah, Vivek.
Excuse me. Can you show again, because I'm not able to locate that plus sign.
Chrome browser only. So you have a Chrome browser?
Yeah,
You're
I
using
do.
Chrome browser? So if you go to Chrome browser, so if I type cloud.google.com, so I already have installed it. That's why it shows me like this. Let me just uninstall quickly. So it should show something like, how do I uninstall it? I forgot to uninstall it. So here it should be a plus icon. Okay, I can just choose something. If I just
I
go
look.
to
I just
yeah.
it's there actually. Yeah, it's same
Yeah.
place where you are showing. Yeah.
Click that square button. It is giving you option to install. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. That's going to be a good one. Any other questions, folks? If
What kind
it's
of
not,
document we can switch from here? Uh,
any
Mahesh?
document, anything on GCP, Vijay, anything on GCP, all official
Okay.
only. This is, I have
It's
a
like an
video on this. It's like
okay
bookmark stuff. It's like
reference
uh,
material.
references only to GCP. So you'll not get diverted. So I guess let me just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. If I just go to this one, my YouTube.
It is similar like reference architecture.
No. What is this basically is, if you search here like this, it's going to show the entire world. So now if I just type IAM, if I just search IAM, it's going to show AWS IAM, Azure IAM, everything. So what it basically, this app does is very simple. Site.cloud google.com. Hope the link is correct. Cloud. Yeah. If I do this, it's only going to give me results from google.com. This is how I used to do, because I come from a search background. I usually search like this if I want to restrict only from a specific website. I don't want you to do always this thing. So that is app comes into picture. When you search anything in this app, it only searches the results only from this one. So meaning all the materials which you are looking into it, you can blindly believe it, because these are all official materials. That's the only thing. So whenever you're refer to an official material. So medium post to some extent, and if it is coming from a good source, I have seen few Googlers write medium post. I can rely on it. The reason is they would have collected some internal information. They would have created something. So that's something going to be there. So if it's something not from an official source, I usually don't take it, but I will try it myself and see whether it's right one or not. So that's how I usually believe the documentations. So that's the option, folks. So there's a video also which I have done. If you want, you can look into it. The entire thing is explained there. Document is the king. Yeah, this is the one. So if you want, you can look into this,
And also,
where I
Mahesh,
explain the same thing. Yeah.
yeah, this document, like we can use, like for any virtual machines, like right, which is used for this purpose. So in terms of billing perspective, normally in other cloud, example AWS, we check that billing dashboard, um, this kind of series which used for application. This one kind of virtual machine we prefer to use for database. This kind of virtual machine series we can use for AI.
A
Those kind
recommendation
of
for
they
what
can.
kind of workload? What kind of workload you want to use? What kind of machine types is what you're asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So that is okay. You don't have something like that where they specifically mention to that level, saying that if it is database, you should use A1 series in AWS. So Google does not give you that level of information, but in their reference architecture, some of there are some reference guides. There they may mention you need to have this much of compute, this much of those things, but they don't give to that level basically.
But it always depends on the
But how do we,
application that we
It always
going to use.
depends. That's just a recommendation which Google, so AWS gives it basically.
okay, in like if on premise we have some database server, some kind of application server, right? When we move to cloud, right? So
Uh,
we always prefer that one to do the
okay,
design in
for
GCP.
that one, right? For that one, right? You have to do an assessment. So you have to do a cloud assessment. So you get some tools like Stratozone. So Stratozone, which Google acquired it. Stratozone. You can use this kind of tools where it's going to give you a option. What for this kind of a stuff in GCP? What should be the good machine type? That's more of an assessment.
Okay, like, can you bring me the link? Status
Yeah,
zone.
yeah, sure. Yeah, Stratozone. And this was recently acquired during the last year. They acquired this. Previously, it was not part of GCP or Google. Now Google acquired it actually. So this is just to show that
Oh,
the strategy is becoming bigger, because other cloud providers had their own assessment tools. This was becoming problem for Google, so they thought buying a one is going to be good. Uh, yeah, the only thing with Stratozone you will not be able to do is, like, most of you will have laptops, desktops, but you'll not have a server. So if you're fortunate enough, you can have it. But so this kind of stuff could be little difficult, but you can usually do AWS to GCP I hear some of you from AWS background, so definitely you may have some kind of an account. So that kind of a migration is going to help. From cloud to cloud, you can try from on-prem to cloud. You may not be able to try it out because as an individual, you may not have access to a data center.
So
And
do
also,
we cover this kind of tools in our course, Mahesh?
So we are going to cover it at a very high level, Mohammed. We cannot do a lab or demo on this, but we'll
Yeah,
cover
at
it at
least
a very high level. Yeah.
to
How do you do the
understand
assessment? Yes, yes, yes,
what this tool will do. If
yes,
I'm
yes.
planning to do some workload migration from
Correct.
on-prem to cloud, what kind of tools that we can use? All
Yes,
of
we
that.
will discuss it. So it's in the module 9th module. Once we finish everything, we know we have prepared ourselves. We will go into our migration stuff. At that time, we will discuss it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Mahesh,
There
I
was
have
one
one
more.
question. Yeah, Mahesh. Actually, I have a requirement to move our, Veritas and Beam backup move to GCP cloud. Is there any tool we need to use to configure? Means my storage location will be GCP.
Storage location is in?
GCP. If I want to,
Okay.
I'm using a Beam and also Veritas to backup software we are using. At present, is stored in on-premise. We are using a tape drive based, but and also we are planning to use GCP storage. Is there any software we can use, or you have any idea
Only
how?
for okay. Okay. Never heard. For this is for backup
Yeah,
backup
backup.
migration. Backup
Yeah,
migration. Need to check
like,
Vijay. So never tried anything there, but I'll check if something I get it. I'll let you know. Don't have
oh,
something quick on top of my mind.
yeah,
But
because
check something in marketplace. You may have something.
the reason why we are
So
going to use is GCP cloud having that life cycle management also, like this many
yeah.
days we can, yeah, like that.
Which may not be there in your Veritas or what is the other one?
And
Bean.
VEAM, Veeam backup and Veritas both.
Okay.
VEAM, VEAM,
VE. Oh, okay, I have heard this name. So V
VEAM, VEAM,
V
VEAM,
A M.
AM. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. You have something. Can you
We are
check
using two
this? Have you?
backup. Veeam used for virtual machine backup and Veritas used for on-premise server backup.
Okay. There's one thing. Have you explored this?
Yeah, this currently we are using all virtual machine and on-premise VMware, taking all virtual
Okay.
machine backup, storing
No,
our
this
storage.
marketplace stuff, market stuff. You have tried it? Maybe they have
Uh,
some.
but if you go for cloud-based, I think we need to purchase some cloud-based license.
Okay, license. Got it. Got it. I'll check it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, looking at only migrating the cloud or the archive data which is already there, and you want to migrate that to cloud. Is
It
it,
is quite
Vijay?
simple. At present, I'm storing in on-premise storage. My
Okay.
requirement is want to store in cloud. Since we have already direct connection established,
Hmm.
so
Dedicated interconnect. You have already established dedicated
yeah,
interconnect.
we are
Why
able.
don't you use ES then directly transfer it? Why do you need any other tool?
Buckets,
Uh,
right?
no. In
Straightforward.
future, we already have a license for on-premise license for VM Veritas. I just want to integrate with there is no manual. If I want to start a backup, the backup automatically store the data to cloud. Everything
Okay.
configured VM. So storage location only I need to, instead of on-premise storage or drive, I need to change the location to Google storage. That's it.
For the future backup, you're looking at or migrating the older archived backup that you have. That also you wanted to move to cloud, Vijay.
Not old archive backup. At present, whatever backup starting from now, we can move to that. But if you saw archival backup, that we can directly use, create archival storage we can use a GCP like util command. That is a
Aman, there are tools available, but only thing is that now as a customer, are you ready to pay an extra cost? So everything goes to be a cost. So Vijay's organization or the customer already have a connectivity built interconnect. We'll talk about that at a later point of time. So you can use it, but cost is an implication. You should always keep in mind that cost. So if it's free, fine. GSUtil is free, so we can leverage it. And GSUtil has lots of benefits. We'll talk about it, but possible to use, but cost is an implication always. Even this one, Vijay was mentioning, there could be a cost, license, all those things. Think from the cost perspective always.
The ingress traffic, if you want to restore it from there and you want to pull the data up to your data center, that will also
That is also important. Or if it's a very huge data, there is something like Snowball kind of an equivalent in GCP also called as transfer appliance. So that's going to be again depending on which region you are in. So if you are in US, Canada, Europe, you can get that product. Otherwise, you have few options. GSUtil is one thing. Transfer service for on-prem, there's one more option. Check whether those things. But here's his thing is to change the location there. So check. Need to check it out, Vijay. I'll check it out and let you know.
And actually, one more thing, I already one backup configured in Azure. So that what I did, I configured just a storage account and generate the SaaS token and given to that configure Veeam backup and Veritas. And also there are some proxy configured because there is no direct access. We just configure proxy, and that was working. But GCP, I don't know how to do those things.
Okay.
And
Okay.
future
So
you will be teaching that billing also, right? How to save the cost for billing optimization.
throughout we will be talking. It's not that like a dedicated one. Throughout the class, we'll be talking about billing. How can we save costs? So it's not a dedicated class where we talk every component. So now we have not even started those. IAM is totally free. What we learned is totally a free component. So from tomorrow onwards, compute engines. How can we optimize the cost? All those things. We'll talk it throughout the class.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So, all right, folks, let's stop it here. I have a hard stop. Tomorrow should be okay. I can take more questions. Sorry to cut short you. So tomorrow we can resume back. If you have more questions, I can definitely answer after 10 o'clock. And usually after 10, we'll not discuss anything. So it's going to be more of Q&A kind of stuff, something like this, what we are doing. All right. If you have a hard stop after 10, you can definitely drop off. Some of you dropped off already. So all right, we'll stop it. Expect a recording soon, maybe in next 3 to 4 hours. We'll resume back on tomorrow's class. Thank you, folks.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh.
Thank you. Bye.